Good evening, ladies and gents, wherever you may be around the world, and welcome to Splendid Isolation number 276. As always, we're going to start us off with a tune which gives people time to join the stream and what have you. So we're going to do that.
Take up the white man's burden, send forth the best ye breed. Go bind your sons to exile, to serve your captives' need. To wait in heavy harness on flooded folk and wild. Your new God's sullen peoples have devil and have child. Take up the white man's burden, in patience to abide, to veil the threat of terror and check the show of pride. By open speech and simple, 100 times made plain, to seek another's profit and work another's gain. Take up the white man's burden, the savage wars of peace. Fill full the mouth of famine and bid the sickness cease. And when your goal is nearest, the end for the sword, what's love that heed and folly? Bring all your hopes to naught. Take up the white man's burden, no tawdry rule of kings, but toil of serf and sweeper, the tale of common things. The ports ye shall not enter, the roads ye shall not tread. Go make them with your living and mark them with your dead. Take up the white man's burden and reap his old reward. The blame of those ye better, the hate of those ye guard. The cry of those ye humor are slowly towards the light. Why brought ye us from bondage, our loved Egyptian night? Take up the white man's burden, ye dare not stoop to this, nor call too loud on freedom to cloak your weariness. By all ye cry or whisper, by all ye leave or do, the silent, sullen people shall wail gods and you. Take up the white man's burden, have done with childish days, the lightly profit laurel, the easy ungrudged praise. Come thou to search your manhood through all of thankless years. No age with give or wisdom, the judgment of your peers. Take off the white man's burden through all the thankless years.
And that was, of course, the excellent Chris Gard. If you like good music, go and check him out. Follow his YouTube channel. And you can also follow him on X on Twitter, where we are also live at the moment. I always find myself singing along to that song, I have to say. But anyway, it's also got some really good illustrations and old film in it. Anyone who's into history will see there's General Buller coming off his ship, and also Field Marshal Sir Frederick Roberts as well, both during the Anglo-Boer War. But anyway, all right, guys, I'm not quite sure what we're going to talk about this evening, although I'm sure we're going to touch on the so-called controversy over Restore Britain and Rupert Lowe's boomerish statements. And let me be clear before we get on to that, I don't think he should have said those things. Although, as someone in Restore pointed out, ethno-nationalist is a leftist term, and it's designed to be a nasty term for people. You know, it's designed to associate you with Moustache Man in 1930s Germany and stuff like that. But I still think he shouldn't have said that. But, you know, the guy's 68. He's a lot older even than me. And, you know, boomers say boomer things sometimes.
Who doesn't misspeak and put their foot in their mouth?
Yeah,
you know,
I'm just... We went back through 275 streams of this channel. Damn sure I've said some things that people wouldn't like, you know. I was pleased to see though, like the people like I think there are some bad actors involved in this, but there were a couple of genuine guys. There was Steve Laws and also Boomer Historian, who I don't mind. I like his stuff on Rhodesia and what have you. But those guys have said that they're going to stick with Restore and just try and, you know, help the direction of the party. And I think that's the way to do it, to be honest.
They did calm down a bit.
Yes. We all know what kind of person Rupert Lowe is. It's not that surprising at the moment. And I remember he got in trouble for saying he's a true Tory. I forget what interview that was. Yeah, it was with Jacob Rees-Mogg on a GB News original, and he was getting a lot of comeback from that. What he meant was he's actually a right-wing Tory.
Yeah. What they're supposed to be.
Something we haven't had, like the Conservative Party, in air quotes, hasn't been conservative. Certainly since I would argue the 1990s. To be honest,
I mean, David Cameron really finished it.
Yeah. I would even describe it as what Rupert Lowe meant is what the left think the Tory party is. That's what he actually
Yeah, is the one they still pretend the Tories are far right. Some of them.
Yeah.
And they should be. That's what Rupert said.
When in fact, most so-called Conservative MPs are well to the left of the average Labour voter. But anyway, you know, this is the weirdo world we live in.
I mean, that's for me. That's Rupert Lowe. As far as I can tell, he hasn't softened at all. It's just his rhetoric's a touch out of date. I would argue.
Yeah, and I thought we did all agree. I thought we all realised this, that he wasn't at the Steve Laws position on total 100% ethnic.
No,
I thought everyone realised this, and all of a sudden everyone's forgotten.
Yeah, no, look, I would like Restore to be very close to the Steve Laws. I'm not exactly on the Steve Laws position. I'm very close to it. I'm probably 95% of the way there.
Yeah, I'm a moderate 99.8% need to go.
Yeah, just exactly. Yeah. Look, as far as I'm concerned, you've got to aim for under 5% immigrants in Britain. I mean, I'd love Britain to be 100% British, with only like the only immigrants I think are fine in Britain are like traditional Australians, Canadians, New Zealanders, those sorts of people. I got no problem with those guys. I don't really have a problem with a few people from mainland Europe or America. But we're probably not going to get to that position. If we could get Britain 95% white, that would be fine as far as I'm concerned. Keep it that way.
I've always said I'd be quite happy with pre-1997 levels. So that's what I grew up with. That's what I know.
I mean, like even Enoch Powell, like his position was, well, yeah, a handful can actually integrate. That was Enoch Powell's thing, and I feel like Rupert's quite similar in that, really.
Yeah,
like Enoch Powell was never. Yeah, integration's totally impossible for all of them, but he was like, yeah, it's a really small amount though.
But the thing is, I think people are trying to trip up Rupert Lowe. He's not being like Farage, where it's sort of like, I'm going to play to a right wing base because I need all these votes. Right, I'm starting to get this now. I need to be more left wing, and we can't upset the Muslims and all this. Rupert has stayed on the same trajectory. He's not changed his trajectory. Arguably, his rhetoric's out of date. I can forgive him for this.
Yeah. I like for both in both cases, I was think the actions they've taken around them as party leaders, that's really important. That's more important to me than just words, because we've heard politicians for years say, "Oh, I promise you good thing." Great. But you see with Farage, what does he do? He goes and gets a foreign Muslim as his number two. Yeah. Also then hires the Boris Wave immigration minister, a bunch of other Tories, Naheem Zahawi and stuff. These are the people at the top of
100.
That's not good.
100. Yeah, no, absolutely. Farage is all over the place. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know what the reform policy on deportation is this week. You know, it changes from week to week according to Farage. Yeah. So you know, I think Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain have been much more consistent. And let's be honest, like the Daily Mail started this shit. As far as I can see, and the Daily Mail are just complete reform UK shills. That's all they are. And then you had others jumping on the bandwagon who were just reform shills. Yeah. And then I think you had one or two bad actors, and just a couple of people, like, as I say, people like Steve Laws and Zuma Historian, who I like both of those guys. I don't agree with every single thing they say, but I don't need to agree with every single thing people say to like them, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that the people criticising Rupert Lowe, that they're kind of going the other way and sort of like, I'm definitely against the fell for it again award? They're sort of going too far.
There's a bit of like just they're falling like Duke said. There's a lot of reform. The reform cultists who are piling in on this to spread the dissent and demoralization. I do feel like I think some people are a bit too. They're just a bit too sensitive and their purity spiraling. It's just you need to calm down a bit. Look at what else. Look at the rest of the party, right? You got other good guys. You got our guys, right, at the top there. Just calm down a bit. This is all still working. And then also,
yes, I totally agree, Thoreau. Absolutely. I think, and look at their policies.
Yeah,
you know, look at what Restore Britain's policies are. Under Restore Britain's policies, millions will go. Now, I'm sorry if you are anti mass verbal immigration, as we all are on this panel. That's the best deal we've been offered in 50 years, to be honest.
Yeah. You also, you should look at how they are, like how Rupert and stuff are framing a lot of the things about who is integrated. It's because if you just tell like the average normie, we're going to get rid of all the Nigerians, that might scare them a bit. Some of them, especially in like the Lib Dem areas. Whereas if you say, well, we've got this list of things like you'll speak English and all these integration things, that 99% of Nigerians will fail. That's not so bad. People don't mind that so much because it's just, and that's how and I think legally also it avoids a lot of problems for reform with equality, restore with equality and stuff. If you say like these, we have these, so like technically anyone could integrate, but you make it at the level where they just don't. They all fail, so they're all going home eventually.
Yeah, look, if you look at Restore's policy, if people who don't speak English, people who are on benefits, people who are in social housing, people who can't speak the language, that is an awful lot of people. And there are other categories as well. Yeah. I mean, like Rupert's policy is anyone who has been involved in the child rape gangs, you know, the so-called grooming gangs. Those people are all
including families who have covered it up as well.
Yes, exactly. You know, as far as Rupert Lowe is concerned, like the people who killed that poor little white young chap recently, Henry Novak, their family would go.
Yeah.
Because they tried to cover it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we can ask for a lot more than that at the moment. You know, I mean, it's so much more and so much further than any other party has been willing to go, including bloody well Reform UK.
Mm-hmm. And it's, I mean, and remember, Rupert was kicked out of Reform because they thought he was too serious about these things. So there is that. He does have that going for him.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right. You know, I mean, I think that Rupert Lowe would have been quite fine with an Enoch Powell-led Tory party back in the day. Mm-hmm. You know, he would have been fine with that. He's that sort of
thing. The nation would have been.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I know that. But I'm talking about in terms of actual politician. And I hesitate to call Rupert Lowe a professional politician because, of course, he's a businessman and a farmer. So, you know, he's done real jobs.
He's a fine man who answered the call.
It's funny also because past few weeks, the smears against Rupert have been he's a far-right Nazi, evil Nazi. And now, same people like the Daily Mail and stuff are flipping, going, "Oh, yeah, Rupert, he's a soft, wet liberal. He loves all the immigrants." So it's just because that attack line didn't fail. Let's try the other one. Yeah,
Tharium. They're just trying to sow dissent amongst Restore Britain members, which includes me. I'm a Restore Britain member. I pay my money. They're just trying to sow dissent. That's their only interest, and a lot of it is coming from the reform side of things.
Mm-hmm. I think also after people got a bit too excited with Makerfield, and there's a bit of demoralization with that, which I think is playing into this as well.
Yeah, I think we have to realise we're not going to win every by-election, and Makerfield. There's a reason Andy Burnham picked Makerfield, even if it wasn't obvious to us at first.
Yeah, it's a rock solid Labour seat. It has been for generations, and also there's not much diversity there, so they don't see the worst effects of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like Andy Burnham threw a dart at the map of Britain and went there. You know, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like some of the BNP successes were in more diverse areas because that solidified the sort of the white vote there, the English vote there.
Yeah.
Also, look, I don't think it was a poor result for Restore.
No, it wasn't.
Given Restore is what 3 months old or whatever.
Yeah.
But the problem with it was that prior to the by-election, the people on the Lotus Eaters and people like Connor were talking about 15-20%. Now, I never thought for a second Restore would win that seat. I never did. But I did think they might get 10 or 12%.
Yeah.
And that was a letdown for people. I think that's the problem, is they over-egged people's expectations.
I will admit, seeing that 7%, it's I was hoping for a lot more than that.
I mean, listen, they beat the so-called Conservatives, they beat the Lib Dems, they beat the Greens. None of that is bad for a 3-month-old party, you know?
I mean, you need to...
Yeah, sorry, thank you.
Yeah, you need to look at it in terms of comparing it to like, all the other parties. Like Reform or the Brexit Party, they didn't get anywhere close to that on their first by-election. All these other, like, Homeland, who's that Alex Yerbury, his National... something or other, like a lot of these others.
All like, these tiny little bloody parties, and there's just too many of them.
These vanity project purity spirals, like they get beaten by the monster raving loony party wherever they stand. They're completely pointless.
And Billy McBinface or whatever he's called.
Yeah.
All I would say is to all our fellow Restore supporters is hold the line, don't let them spook us.
Yeah, this was a good look. We needed this we needed a bit of humble pie, really. And this is good for us. You know, we can learn from this and move forwards.
Yeah.
Like I'm hoping with the Manchester by-election, they just kind of take it as an opportunity, just get some messages out. Rather, like, don't get carried away thinking you're actually going to win.
Yeah, you mean the Manchester mayoral?
Sorry,
thing.
yeah.
I'm not sure they should even bother with that, to be honest with you. I mean, I remember that I kind of fell out with. I'm really not sure why, but I did kind of fall out with Aaron Hook over the Makersfield thing. Although really, I agreed with him. I didn't think Restore should have bothered standing there, to be honest. And I still think that to some degree. I mean, yes, Restore got a lot of good publicity out of it. They did. But they also over-egged the pudding in terms of what sort of result they were going to get, you know?
But I think we needed to go through this. Would have happened sooner or later at the first by-election. We needed to go through this. It's good to get it out the way now, really, I think.
I just think at the moment, Restore need to really concentrate on getting their ground game all over the country. They've got to get local branches. They've got to organize in those branches. They've got to start selecting candidates because we may get an election sooner than people think. I know everyone says, oh, no, Labour are going to go right as far as they can, which means 2029. But you never know. You do not know.
Well,
if Labour sees some blip in the polls or they see something nasty coming down the track, they could easily call an election earlier than that.
Maybe. I don't see that. We had a talk about this a bit. It seems Reform are the ones most keen. They're most pushing for an election now, and they're pushing that idea. Because I think it's because they can see. They can see it's all downhill from here. They're not going back up to 33%. So it's like, fuck. Well, let's get in now. Well, late, and then that's that. Because I don't know. I can't. I mean, Burnham's not going to save the Labour Party. They're still going to hate him. So it's I can imagine by 2029,
he can't.
They don't know they're going to hate him yet.
But they will, because he can't do anything different. You know, he's constrained into Labour policies, many of which he's already committed to. He cannot really change anything. And anyone who thinks that Britain is going to get better in the next 3 years, they need their head filled. They really do.
Certainly not under a Labour watch, anyway.
I mentioned this last week. Like in Makerfield, Labour were able to campaign on being the anti-Labour party to get Keir Starmer out. So it's quite a unique thing for them, really.
Absolutely. It was Labour versus Labour in Makerfield, really.
Yeah.
And Reform UK spent most of their time attacking Restore rather than Labour. It's really weird. But anyway.
I mean, it must have been really weird to be in Makerfield, because you basically got Labour saying, for us, we're doing this. We're going to fix and obviously in Makerfield, they're obviously big Labour constituency. I mean, old school Labour supporters who perhaps haven't come to terms with the fact that Labour are now a a human rights lawyer activist class these days. Just sort of we'll restore. I mean, they restore Labour to what it was, and by extension restore the.
Yeah, they're never going to do that though, Mercy. And this is the thing: you all these poor bloody idiots in Makerfield, who were voting for Burnham. They were all hoping that Labour's going to go back to the old days when they were actually for the British working man. That's never going to happen. Let me tell you, it's just.
I understand that very much the second-hand car salesman pitch, but you've got to admit it was a powerful pitch.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not going to stand up to much examination. I mean, I'm not sure if it was you, Mercy, or Faria, who said that in a year or so's time, but Burnham will probably be almost as unpopular as Starmer. Probably not quite as unpopular, popular because
I don't know if I said it,
he's less of a robot. But he's not going to be a popular prime minister. It's because he can't do popular policies. I mean, you know, the bond market is not going to give him any more money.
Well, I certainly believe that. I mean, I don't know if I said that. I think me and Tharium were pretty solid on it. On Tharium agrees any differently to that. That's why I'm not worried about Andy Burnham. It's the ship cannot change course. The Labour ship cannot change course now. Unless they really want to. I would be very surprised if that Labour ship changes course.
AI, good evening, mate. We're really discussing the controversy, which I think has been vastly exaggerated, about Rupert Lowe's comments on the couple of American podcasts that he did. I wonder what your thinking on that one is.
Yeah, hi. I've watched episodes on those podcasts. I've watched I've looked at sort of both sides of the people who are I haven't checked out Reform because I their criticism. Okay, first of all, I disregard Reform on the basis of they had a fella from Bengal who literally arrived in this country 2 seconds ago as a candidate in the local election.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the opinion disregarded. Okay, so on that front. So all the Jack Hatters, Hatfield or whatever is the one that I interviewed. Opinion fucking disregarded. Okay, so on the second point, I will be honest. I've said this before to a lot of guys when Rupert announced. It was actually the day that Rupert announced that Restore was going to become party. There was a Twitter space hosted by Academic Agent when he was still on Twitter, and in this space, I said, "Listen." And I said, I'm going to be realistic. Rupert is an open free market Randian, follower. He's also part of, the of older generation. So a lot of the meme stuff probably won't really resonate with him. But he is quite good online for someone of his generation as a politician, I will admit. But also the other thing is, and this is just a political reality, the BNP ceased to be a major political party. I think, what was it? Probably about 15 years ago now. Probably a bit more.
2010 question time is what popped off the BNP party. I didn't actually watch that sort of show, but
yeah. But my point is that was when it peaked, and since then and before then, we had laws in this country which said if you're in a political party, you can't discriminate on race, you can't discriminate on ethnic origin. And so for a lot of people who want, the political solution, it's difficult because, of course, you've got people like Steve Laws and a lot of those guys who are nationalists, who effectively want what is the most sensible vanguardistic movement for our own people, particularly against a hostile state, which is openly hostile to the British population. But the problem is, legally, that's impossible to do.
Yeah.
And so the thing there is, like the BNP towards the end of their time and Restore and everything, there's going to be, and this is the thing, is like Rupert's not going to say to the Jews, no, I'm not talking to you, get lost. He's not going to, persecute Indians or Hindus. I mean, the Islam stuff, it's a safe, it's, what was it called? Tactical bigotry. It's one of the safer areas. If you're right wing, you can attack Islam. You can't attack them ethnically. being Pakistanis or Afghanis or anything. But you can attack like radical Islam. That's like the safest point to attack, right?
Also, AI also, Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain, unlike any other party, including Reform UK, Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain, they want to ban halal and kosher slaughter. No one else wants to do that.
Yeah, and the critics of Rupert Lowe said, well, that was a way of him attract. I mean, I think what it comes down to is ethically, Rupert's original pitch was, there are too many minority group interests in this country. We need to, and if you think back about the Brexit referendum, what was the Leave's campaign thing was take back control. Now everyone and their mother interpreted that in the political scene as economics, but I think that comes from a deeper sort of spiritual level, in the sense of, we're not just taking back control of market forces in this country or anything nonsense like that, but actually taking back control of our civilization from those
and our borders AI. The Brexit vote was driven very largely by anti-immigration sentiment.
But within that anti-immigration stuff, I think it also, for many people, maybe on a subconscious level, which no one didn't really understand themselves, they saw, and Morgoth's done a really good with Horus and Millennial Woes, produced a really good I think it was a Substack stream or something on the McPherson report. And, for the last 80 years, we have been held hostage in our own countries, in Western European countries, by an elite group of small minority interest groups who use their own hatred of Europe, of us, and our civilization to attack us, to excuse their own crimes, to plunder and loot and denigrate and rob and steal and indoctrinate at a whim, and slowly taking over society. Now you got entire political sectors which are dominated by people who are either first, second generation foreign nationals. You've got you got all these various interest groups, and I don't just talk about the obvious one, that sort of brought up, but I talk even on like a smaller level, like like in, I think it was Birmingham City Council, where they had spent like a whole day debating about a new airport in Kashmir and whether or not, if it belongs to India or Pakistan.
What on earth has that got to do with Birmingham, for God's sake? I mean,
I
get what it's got to do with. Yeah, no, of course I understand that, Mercy. But I mean, in reality, it shouldn't have.
No. Obviously, I say what I say in jest, but never a true word spoken.
Yeah. But
also, we've all seen the videos of London the other day with all these weirdo Muslim sects marching through Regent Street and what have you, whipping themselves and whatever they do. None of this stuff should be in Britain. I'm sorry, go home, do it there.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I went on the sort of like a doom black pill episode this week during the hot weather, and I was watching I was just watching clips online. I think it's from DJE Media. Now he's a bit of a questionable fellow, but he just goes around London, and like you go to Piccadilly Circus, and it's just totally dominated by an Albanian gang that sells drugs and whores out these prostitutes. And then he goes to another area, and you got like a yardie gang, and it's got to this point where, I mean, and all these gang members aren't even, you can tell by their accents, they're not even born in this country. So it's not like these are second, third generations of people. These are people who have just come to this country to commit crime, to engage in organised criminality.
Yeah, it's not like walking on the set of a Guy Ritchie movie or Peaky Blinders or something.
No, absolutely not. It's not even, and every time I've seen like that fat slob Piers Morgan today, that there was in Manchester, there was a gang of men who, are majority white. Well, I say white British. They do have Irish surnames, but be that as it may, who where they raped one of the man. He drugged his wife so that this group of men could rape them. One of them was a foreign national, but anyway, and you've got the Piers Morgan and others will say, why aren't we talking about we talk about the grooming gangs, why aren't we talking about this? And my immediate response is
one case and not hundreds of thousands.
well,
maybe
it's not even that. It's not even that. The number one response is show me the list of Labour, Tory, Lib Dem councillors, the social workers, local police forces, licensing office, and a whole host of other institutional powers that help them and cover that up. If he can show me, and I put to him this evening, if you can show me, a police force or councillors that help them and cover this up, right? And they use institutional power to cover it up and try and deny that this happened, and this was, some sort of bigoted trope. I will go on his show and apologise and recount my beliefs. And I of course, we know that none of that's going to happen for the very simple reason that didn't happen, because the police investigated and arrested these bastards. And they should have done what they should have done with the countless grooming gangs. The grooming gang scandal could have been put to bed fucking, at least 30 plus years ago now. Something could have been done about this. But because of the legacy of the McPherson report, and also that other race report in the 80s as well, because of that, it has weakened the police force, filled it with people who are deficient both physically and mentally, and also ethically. And it's allowed this, subculture where foreign nationals have, and these foreign national communities with their activists have been given a green pass to commit crime, including rape and murder, without any serious pushback. And that is the reality of this country, I'm afraid.
I would add to that next time, if someone manages to call out Piers on that, I think one statistic they should say was, all right, these are all the white perpetrators. This is what they were sentenced with. These are what the grooming gangs were sentenced with, and compare the sentencing. I bet you that's not even either.
Well, but I mean, as I correctly pointed out, it's also you don't have these layers and layers.
I'm
officialdom
I'm
covering it up, and as someone said in the chat, you're always going to get a certain amount of domestic crime. Anyone who thinks the whole of the real British population are angels hasn't known all that many British people. They're not. Of course, there are bad British people.
But this isn't a question of crime. It's okay. We have undoubtedly. We've got murderers, we've got paedophiles, we've got, like every society, we have the scum of society who I believe, quite frankly, I think also, like throughout human history, they should be given the death penalty. They should be hung for their crimes so that, we expunge these people from society. But we used to. But what we are now in this sort of bizarre situation where we import the same subhuman population of criminals from hundreds of other different societies into this country,
and they're even worse. I mean, the countries they're coming from are extremely corrupt. They've got practices that most people in Britain would regard as barbaric.
Well, as other people have pointed out, like these Pakistani grooming gangs, they would have been put to death in Pakistan. Even the Pakistani establishment doesn't put up with that.
No.
Well,
That's what
you
they're
see,
coming over here. We're a
Well,
soft
yeah,
touch.
but I mean, again, to bring us back to our original topic, we're talking about Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain. As far as I know, Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain are the only party that is offering the British people a referendum on bringing back the death penalty. I don't think Reform UK want to do that.
No.
I mean,
But,
I would actually go.
Restore have said they will do that.
See, I'd go further. I would also do death penalty by proxy. So any family member, but also NGO group that helps cover, including lawyers, actors, lawyers who help cover that up, will also be, and this will all be public.
Yeah,
And
come on. I think you're going
Gonna be
further than you could possibly
gonna be a
go.
busy day at the
Andrew,
busy day at the
guys,
gallows.
Yeah,
and
you need like mass gallows to do that.
Andrew, and also we're going to air it before question time.
Yeah. No, look. I don't totally disagree with you, but I'm on YouTube, obviously, and YouTube. We are completely non-violent on this channel, by the way. But yes, I do see your point. But but I think a referendum for the real British people to vote about the death penalty. I think that's entirely fair, because as far as I am aware, it was politicians that got rid of the death penalty, and the death penalty wasn't used a lot in Britain before it was abolished. It was still pretty rare. You had to do a pretty bad murder to get the death penalty. I mean, did they occasionally make mistakes? Yes, they did, which I'm obviously not in favor of.
You can mitigate that a lot these days.
Yeah, you can, particularly with things like DNA evidence and
Cameras.
Cameras, and also you hopefully can improve the appeal process a bit. But I'm in favor of the death penalty.
Are they going to be AI? Would you have appeals?
For him? There was a 2-year-old, I think. Was killed
Yeah,
in
this
Britain.
just happened. Yeah, 2-year-old girl raped and murdered by a African immigrant.
2-year-old.
France.
That's a baby.
Yeah,
like a baby. I mean, I'm sorry. That person should just die. I'm sorry.
You can't fix that.
People shouldn't pay for that person to spend 50 years in prison. He should just die.
Yeah, and
you can't
also
fix
it. The social workers as well. I mean, I'm sorry. I know you think I'm extreme, but when it comes, I mean, look, Stalin had to crack a few eggs to get the Soviet Union back into shape again, and well, I won't say more because it's YouTube, but you get my point.
There were a number of dictators in that era who had to crack a few eggs to get rid of some quite nasty people. But that's all we're going to say on that.
There was a Austrian man from the previous century.
there was some Austrian painter, a guy who also
I've not heard of this one.
Yeah. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not a big AH supporter at all. But did he clean up Germany in some ways? Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Well,
these vegetarians,
yeah, I don't know, these neo-pagans.
Well, listen, this is another topic that I really wanted you guys to talk about a bit. It is I see that King Charles has been doing King Charles.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of being defender of the faith, he's now.
It's a faith. It is a faith he's defending.
Yeah. Any faith. He's going to defend any faith you like, basically.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my Pope? This is going to be very unpopular on it's going to be very unpopular. Do you want to hear my cope on this?
Go on.
I'll get it out of the way.
Go on, Aya. Go on.
Now, I think okay. Okay, this is my cope on the matter. And you're all going to disagree on this, but I don't care. My cope is that Charles is effectively, he is a very philosophical individual who is very much obsessed with perennial traditionalism. Now, whatever we think about Islam or Hinduism or all the other things that exist in this world, he's interested in just that, how it affects societies and stuff like that. And from the lens of René Guénon, he actually, to be fair, to his credit, he did a very good 5-minute speech, basically summing up what René Guénon's views on, perennial traditionalism and the sacred, and living and basically live in the age of modernity, and then the age of the transcendent and everything. He actually did a very good speech on that. Do check it out on YouTube and elsewhere. Now the problem is, I don't think with Charles, if he was an absolute king, maybe he could bring Britain back to some level of perennial traditionalism. But at the end of the day, he doesn't control jack shit, and so it's kind of like the tail, wagging the dog at the end of the day. So, but in my view, and I know this is going to sound unpopular, I think in his own sort of warped royal mind, probably does it from a place which I can understand, but unfortunately, he's living in fucking fairy tale land, and it's
Cloud
not going to
cuckoo
work.
land, AI.
Yeah,
He lives
and
in
I know,
cloud cuckoo land.
and even like a multi-racial and cultural empire, like take the Roman Empire, for example, which is regularly brought out as a success story. Well, at the end of the day, the sole culture that was the dominant in all factors was Rome. What was the Latin Roman society? Hence why there was Latinized.
AI and ancient Rome is something I know a bit about. That you had to support the emperor cult. You had to. If you were an early Christian, you only got into trouble really because the Christians sometimes claimed that the Romans persecuted them all the time. They didn't. They did occasionally, but most of the time, if you were an early Christian, so long as you were willing to make sacrifices to the emperor cult from time to time, no one bothered you because they didn't care.
But also, the Romans did wipe out religions. The Punic religion of Carthage was largely wiped out.
They wiped out the Druids in Britain and Europe, but they used to do human sacrifices, which the Romans were very against. And I'm sorry, I think the Romans were probably right about that.
Yeah, there was I think there was a similar Druid sort of type of faith in part of Spain, the more Celtic part, and again that was wiped out as well because the Romans, there were some things they wouldn't accept, like human sacrifice. They were contrary to a lot of beliefs,
and they didn't
agree with it.
The reason they didn't like the Carthaginian religion is that the Carthaginians used to sacrifice children, and modern archaeology has actually confirmed that they did use to sacrifice children. They found the graveyards of these sacrificed kids. So, I'm all right. I'm a fan of the Imperial Romans for the most part. Not everything they did was good, of course not.
Do we know that those kids didn't have it coming, though?
I presume you're being funny, Farron, because you sound like a Labour politician talking about an 11-year-old white girl in Rotherham or something,
Well, my question is, why did Romans give up, Mars and Venus and all that, and Constantine switched to Christianity? What's the story behind that?
Well, he didn't for a start. He only supposedly converted on his deathbed.
It's his mother, wasn't it?
Well,
his mother
give you. I mean, what you asked, Mercian, is something that would require like a 10-hour stream to make
it was quite complicated. But even after Constantine, the Roman Empire didn't suddenly become Christian. It was still a 50-50 split.
So people worshipping the Roman. People were worshipping the Roman gods for a few.
No, it's just to give you, just to sit down. You had the imperial cult, which would make up, like Mars and Jupiter and what have you. The thing though is, the Roman Empire was, as I mentioned, made up of many different people, but also from town to town, you would have other local gods as well. So the imperial cult it would just be like in some ways, the imperial cult would be like, imagine the Catholic Church today, and then you have the various saints underneath it. Now, that's kind of like the formula you have, as like, you have the high church, and then you have the lower sort of like would be the imperial cult, and then the lower form of worship being your local goddess or what have you, god or goddess. Now, the thing there is with that is, in the late Roman Empire, you did have a problem where you did, not Christianity wasn't the only other like upstart cult. You also had the Mithridaic cult. You had
That was huge in the Roman army, by the
yeah,
way,
huge,
AI. And
huge
it
in the
was
Roman army.
but where it had a disadvantage was you couldn't join that unless you were a man. So women couldn't join that. Slaves couldn't join it, I don't think. But you certainly had to be a man. And it was very popular in the Roman army. But obviously, you're excluding quite a lot of people.
Yeah.
And when Christianity came along, that appealed to women and slaves and people with no power whatsoever. And you were going to go to this wonderful heaven and all the rest of it,
Yeah, and then you had the cult of Isis, which was for women exclusively.
That was another big one that came from the East. The Romans were quite, they were quite liberal in terms of religions, unless the religion involved human sacrifice, when they were absolutely against you. But if it didn't involve that, the Romans didn't really care about your religion, so long as from time to time you supported the imperial cult. That was all they cared about.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to do it all the time. You just had to do it now and again. There are letters between Pliny the Younger and one of my favorite Roman emperors, Trajan. And Pliny the Younger, who was a governor in a province of the empire, he said, "What do I do about these Christians?" And Trajan writes back to him and he says, "Look, if these guys are willing to sacrifice to the imperial cult from time to time, leave them alone." He said, "Don't go looking for them." Trajan wasn't interested in persecuting Christians. So long as they went along with the mainstream thing from time to time.
Yeah, because the Roman, particularly the Roman senatorial class and also the philosopher class, very much when it came to persecution of Christians wasn't popular. A lot of people think, oh yeah, the masses loved it. They didn't like it because at the end of the day, a lot of people were part of cults, as we mentioned, and there was always that fear. Well, if they do it to this group, it could happen to us or something, vice versa. So it wasn't popular, and that's why. I mean, the main persecution that I think a lot of that sticks into a lot of people's minds when you talk about Christianity was probably that of Diocletian. If I'm honest,
that was one period when it was quite big. Yes,
yeah, and Christianity it did change and morph when Constantine was or his I think his heirs in the Valentinian dynasty. They started, because you had the Mithridaic cult, and just to answer Mercy's original point, because that was very popular among Romans, they stopped, Mars wasn't as important. So it naturally, ceased to become a major factor. But because Christianity was effectively the imperial religion, but not the state one until a wee bit later, you had these Christian bishops that was, and the imperial court that would say, okay, we need the officer class more on our side to to become Christians. Okay, let's Saint George. There you go, Saint George, iconography of Saint George, and we'll have similar codes of practices from the Mithridaic cult, and that's sort of where a lot of that. When you look at the rites and the rituals of the Mithridaic cult, it's very similar to what you see in the later monastic orders, like the Templars. It's very similar. I would put it like that.
Partly why it appealed to the military. It was very popular in the Roman army.
Yeah, and you know, and the thing there was, you know, that St. George, particularly in the East, where you had a lot of you know, a lot of like army martial types would be based. St. George became a very, very prominent figure. I mean, that's why he is today. I think in like most Arab Christians and even before Greek Christians that were living in Anatolia would you know, would have some form of iconography of St. George. I mean, he was a very, very important figure in the East, and still is to this day, to be frank.
I just want to reply to end of the line. I presume end of the line is being he's trying to be funny here, because that is, of course, the Duke of Wellington, who was the Iron Duke. Anyway.
Yeah, and Sol Invictus as well. That was Sol Invictus was more during the early
the
unconquerable
son, the unconquerable son, 2nd century, I think. Who was the guy who was the guy who pulled the empire back together again?
Well, yeah, the crisis of the third. It was in the 3rd century crisis, and was
that was when that became big.
That was Aurelian. Emperor Aurelian.
Aurelian, yes, thank you very much, AI. You're right.
And the reason why
it was Aurelian who really got into Sol Invictus, the unconquerable son.
There's a Christianity did well in the Greeks, and Sol Invictus did, because in Greek philosophy and culture, everything points towards the mono. And this is quite interesting because even though the Greek pantheon, there's a pantheon of, you know, Greek gods, by this point, a lot of the Greeks were sort of pointing towards a mono mindset, and that includes in religion. And that's why a lot of Greek philosophers originally were interested in cults where they, you know, a singular god, you know, including in Christianity. There was you know, Paul in Athens, for example, and what have you, St. Paul in Athens. And Sol Invictus was born out of probably more Greco, if I'm absolutely honest, than Latin, but there was that influence as well. And it was an answer to...
It was a move towards monotheism, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, to be absolutely honest, I think the reason why Aurelian did it was he wanted to create like some sort of unified... it was him trying to save the imperial cult as a unified movement for all people to follow, which it definitely makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, the actual ending of what's the word I'm looking for? The ending of polytheism in the Roman Empire only really happened when the Christian church became so powerful that they actually banned all of the pagan temples.
Yeah, Theodosius the Great, in, I can give you a date, it was 380.
Yeah.
It was in 380.
And even then, for quite a while, people carried it on quietly, you know, in the background. It didn't die a sudden death, but it was eventually killed off by the Christians. And of course, the Christians also adopted many of the Roman festivals and so on. You know, Christmas is not in December because Christ was born in December. Well, there's no evidence whatsoever that he was. It's in December because that was a Roman holiday that the Christian church wanted to take over.
Possibly. I'd
say certainly, but I'm not going to have a debate on it on this stream because that's a history stream topic. You know,
Adrian Goldsworthy does broach that particular subject in one of his books, and there's arguments for both sides of it. I mean, I'd have to look a bit more into it, but I know what you mean.
AI, it's the holiday where the masters used to serve
Saturnalia.
their slaves. Yeah, Saturnalia. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Did you just say Asian girls worthy?
I didn't.
No.
Who was that?
Adrian Goldsworthy is an excellent, particularly military historian, and he's got a really good channel on YouTube, by the way.
Sorry, it's just I heard Asian
things
girls.
on your brain, things it's what's on your mind, right?
Yeah, no, it's Adrian Goldsworthy. Yes,
I think my name's better, but okay.
Yeah, no, it's just that I think what it is it's not like these two festivals existed at the same time before Christianity was even a state religion, and it just happened to be like, because I think what people, and I've seen a lot of Reddit people say, oh, they just invented it on the year 380. It's like, no, it existed before. It just happened to be on the same like month, effectively. But there's like so many festivals. I mean, in the pagan world, you had a festival every week. Every week there'd be some procession through the city.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So there were a lot.
So what I'm saying is, like, yeah, they did have a December festival, and yes, it did coincide. And I think it was like Saint Jerome talked about it in one, basically saying to Christians, because he was like chastising Christians for going to, because this thing, early Christians would go to pagan festivals and join in because their family were involved and all that sort of stuff. And you would have these early Christian bishops that would say, "How dare you go there? You're going to go die and go to hell." And it's all these, it's all these J words and everything. So that would be like your average ranting from of early Christian.
If you're interested in this stuff, like, the late Roman Empire and the takeover of Christianity, there's a pretty good movie called Agora, which I don't mind, which is set in Alexandria, which was the second largest city in the Roman Empire after Rome, and it's not bad actually. But the Christians don't come out of it very well. I've got to say, they don't.
It's a bit, it's a bit, it's a bit Reddit. It's 20. If you understand the culture of 2010 Reddit, the 2010s. I mean, it's not because of the way they're depicted. I think both. If I'm absolutely honest, I don't know if this is. And I don't know about you, Iron Duke. I actually think the pagans and the Christians sides in that one actually are depicted. They have positive moments, but also there's negative moments. They both appear like
for
good
sure.
and bad in some areas.
For sure. I think the Christians are depicted slightly worse.
Well, they're a bit more violent.
But only slightly worse. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Guess which group, guys, is depicted as total angels and did nothing wrong? Have a guess.
There's not a certain small Middle Eastern group, surely.
Do they have special hats to make sure that everyone can see how good they are?
Tiny little hats, yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, I can't play, but there is like a great, and they quoted this. One thing they did get right is that there was a quote from Bishop Cyril on that very small group. Unfortunately, we can't play it here. Though if you type in Agora Bishop Cyril, and it's wholly based and noticing that's but
I know exactly where you're going with this, anyway.
Is he wrong though? Is he?
I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm saying we're on YouTube. All right.
I know. I mean, he could literally be talking about the mentality of Benjamin Netanyahu and Ben Kuvit. Anyway, that's not the point.
Or Donald Trump, indeed, on occasions.
Yeah, Donald Trump. Yeah. No, Donald Trump. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Bishop Cyril.
We're not here, and we don't. We occasionally talk about American topics if they're enormous, but not very often. This is a mostly British and Old Commonwealth channel, and just for anyone who doesn't understand. The old Commonwealth, right, was Britain, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and back in the day, South Africa. It was the white Commonwealth, basically. And that's the bit that we talk about on this channel.
I disagree, of course, of Bishop Cyril's view multiculturalism and multiracial dialogue, religious dialogue. Sorry, I disagree on his take.
All right, guys, I'm gonna do a little bit of channel admin. Gents and ladies in the chat, I saw we've got at least 2 ladies in the chat today. If you want to support the channel, you can do so via Subscribestar. It's a whole $5 a month. And normally, I didn't do it this week because I was away from home on the middle of the week. But normally, we do 2 streams a week. We do one on a Wednesday British time, which is a history stream. And we do this stream every Saturday night British time, although for me, it's Sunday morning because I'm in Australia. Anyway, if you want to support the channel, go to Subscribestar. And it's pinned at the bottom of the chat, and it's also in the description of this video. And it's a whole $5 a month, and I would greatly appreciate people who support us. Also, please like the stream. That helps us a lot on YouTube. And obviously, subscribe to the channel for more content. All right, anyway, that's my shilling bit. Did anyone on the panel this evening have a topic they wanted to talk about particularly?
I'd quite like to, and I mentioned it earlier in chat. The new movie, Citizen Vigilante. Have any of you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. I thought bits of it were a bit silly, but on the whole, it was not bad.
Yeah,
I have no idea what you're talking about. So,
well, do you know Uwe Boll, Mercy?
Well, it's banned. Listen, guys, let's just say this: it's banned in UK, and it's banned in Germany. That should tell you that it's worth seeing just for a start. But also, if you've got a VPN, it's very easy to find.
It's on X.
Yeah,
I watched it. I think I watched it the other day, and I mean, this is the thing: is ultimately, I'm a bit sussy on some. I mean, okay, there's a scene where he has his shirt off. There's a certain tattoo. But before you say it, I'm like, look, you can't get anything past me, guys. I am the master of noticing. I got that. If you think logically, okay, I can understand him being vigilante, going after these despicable people, but then there's a good bit where he goes there's like a judge, right? Why? What about the NGOs on the and this is my thing.
Look, hang on, AI. I get entirely what you're saying. I can almost work out what you're going to say now before you do about certain things. But there's a channel on X called Restore Memes, which has got nothing whatever to do with Restore Britain, and actually it's anti-Restore Britain. And basically it's just a anti-small hat channel. Yeah. And they point out that one of the distributors for this film might be from a certain Middle Eastern religion. Okay, I don't care, mate. Honest, I'm not as obsessed with this as some people are.
Well, can I give some background to this whole thing? So the director is Uwe Boll, who's this German director. He's been around for quite a while, and has just made some of the worst movies around. He is just abysmal. And it's mostly
hang on. He makes exploitation films. He does.
Yeah,
but he's also got into big deep trouble with loads of lefty liberals. So
yeah, it's like because he started mostly with video game movies that he would get cheap license for, and then had the German government pay for them through creative grants and all that crap. So and he is an abysmal director, and that really shows in this movie. Because he doesn't understand. He's a director who doesn't understand story. It's just, I have some things I want to throw into a movie. I have some scenes I want to imagine. Like in this movie, there's nothing's connected up, right? Like AI said, there's the scene where he goes.
Can I interrupt you just for a second? Aubrey Alley, I never said stay off the show, Aubrey. we do include some USA things, and I said that. Sorry, AI, carry on.
Where he's like, there's the scene AI mentioned with he goes into a brothel to screw some like gypsy woman, and what does this have to do with anything? It was totally pointless. It was just there, I think, as a weird sort of fetish from him. And so many of the scenes are like that. Is how did we get to here? It is an abysmal movie, but it is.
I don't agree with that, AI. Honestly, look, I watched it, and I can't watch most modern movies. I can't. If I can last half an hour for most modern movies, like British and American movies particularly, or most Australian films as well, that is really surprising. And I watched all of that film. Did I think it was all great? No, of course not. There are silly bits in it. Yes, there are. But the basic message of the movie, which is it's about little white girls being suffering SA. Well, we have to say on YouTube, it's about little girls being assaulted, little white girls being assaulted by immigrants. That's really what the film's
I mean,
about.
I'd say the basic message is it's about, like he says in the end, I'm doing this because it's about a guy who goes around as a vigilante, killing criminals and stuff.
Yeah,
including these.
Think like Charles Bronson. What were those films called, guys?
Death Wish.
Think like a Charles Bronson Death Wish movie. It's pretty much that sort of.
So it goes,
but,
and then
but the people who are getting killed are immigrants, basically.
Well, sometimes, not all the time.
Okay. There's
the main ending scene.
There's a nasty white judge who just lets people off and all this kind of stuff. But yeah.
But the end message is him just going, "Oh, hey, he's gone. Oh, there he is." The end message is him saying to camera, the main character going, "Oh, I do this to inspire you to do it as well." And that's not a message I was expecting to see in a movie, really. Like the main character telling you.
And it's not a message that we support on this channel.
It's very much, it is an absolute Fed post movie. And it's just not, I did not expect to see that. Like,
nor did I. But I didn't expect him to do a Rupert Lowe, and I'm exaggerating here, of course. And he goes to one of these North African guys' places who had gang raped this girl and kills all of them. Like, the mother, the sister, everyone, just kills a lot. Am I in favor of that? Of course I'm not. I would never support that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's just like it's all a bit confusing, really. I just don't like, how did this movie come out when everything is all so controlled and
listen, the basic message of it is not untrue. This has been happening in Europe for decades now.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm actually honest, I think largely there's a hope with this movie, because it was banned pretty quickly and all that. I would not surprise me that there'll be hope that obviously not in this country, but somewhere in Europe, because it's very much targeted to people on the mainland continent, France, Germany, so on. Mm-hmm. I think there's a hope from the regimes there that someone will pull an Andres Breivik, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
If that's. Oh, gone.
No, sorry, I'm missing my mute button. Look, you might be right, although I'd say that was a bit too conspiracy theory. What I hope is that people will see this film, and someone who is a better writer and a better director will make a more serious film about this topic. That's what I hope.
There is a good vigilante-esque film. Duke, you might know it actually. It came out in, I think it was 2009, and it's got Michael Caine in it. And I forgot what it's called, but he was like,
yeah. But you know what? AI.
Harry Brown.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's supposed to be an ex-Royal Marine Commando. But But you know what they did in that film? Very carefully, because it's a British film, they made sure that most of the victims were white. Of course they did, you know? And to me, that's worse than what this vigilante movie does. And Harry Brown is quite a good film. Don't get me wrong. I liked it. But because it's a British film, you had to make sure that Harry was equally in favor of the brown people, of course, because you have to be. You know, that's the religion of modern Britain, you know, insofar as Britain has any religion anymore.
The only film I'm
thinking, you know, it's like these ridiculous 1990s American movies and 80s American movies where the gangs are half white and half black and half Hispanic, is, you know, and gangs are not like that. They never have been either, you know, they're just not.
Yeah. Yeah, like these sissies in America, well, and tier 2 now, yeah, it's all ethnic. Like this is the Hispanic area.
Yeah,
if
you're in a Yardi West Indian Jamaican gang, you're a West Indian Jamaican. If you're in another sort of gang, you're that ethnicity. There are no mixed gangs, guys. Never have been either. Never. It was a Hollywood lie that they told for like 25 years. That to me is more offensive than this movie.
Yeah, like you said, like I don't have, well, no, I do, of course, condemn it totally, but it's just it is a bit. Is it? I'm also thinking, is this kind of just like trying to like farm us, basically? He's like, oh, I know, I'll make something for the right wing chuds.
Well, how about look? I mean, you know,
it's not. That's not a bad thing, right? It is like a thing that.
This is my point. What's the objection to it? I don't get what the objection is. Well, that someone like me can watch it and I liked it.
Well, my objection is it. Number one, it you know, the people. It goes back to the thing, like, do you go after you know, ultimately the person who brings like, I don't want to say like okay, hypothetically, if there was a film where a vigilante goes to some financial NGO forum and then blank blank blank, you know, that would be probably more right. I get what you're saying,
but you wouldn't get away with that. AI, you would not be able to make that, right? The reason they can make this film at all is the people he's shooting, most of them, are the people who actually did it.
Wait, he goes after a judge. Like that's,
yeah, I know, but he let people off. So again, you can get away with that. You know,
I was just going to say, as far as going after finances, wasn't that basically the end of Fight Club as well? He bombed all those, you know, financial buildings, the credit card companies, and everything at the end of it.
Yeah, the early 2000s stuff is interesting because there is a lot of. I think a lot of it is anti-neoconservatism, but it is interesting. It is interesting nonetheless.
Can I ask you guys, right? Yennefer in the chat has said most normal people don't know about the rape gangs, and I presume she is talking about the mainly Pakistani child rape gangs, the so-called grooming gangs in Britain. I think most normies do know about that now. Surely they do.
I think the scale, maybe they just don't like to think about.
It's something that people. I have tried to mention it recently at work. I remember when Elon Musk right back along was, and it was being, you know, in the news. I think people deep down. I think Duke is right. I think people do know, but I think a large percentage of the population is kind of like there's that. You know, like in the late Soviet bit where you had cognitive dissonance, where you know something that is happening, but you can't acknowledge it because it goes against the party, the state ideology. And so there's kind of like this halfway house where you basically bullshit yourself into some bizarro state of where there's an irrational contradictory explanation that you have for your internal belief on this. Most people, I think, with the grooming gangs, I mean, there are plenty of lefties out there who deny to this day it still happens or it's ever happened. There's plenty of them, and
Piers Morgan being the biggest example of
but those guys are just either, well, they're lying basically, but they're either lying or deluding themselves. I mean, you know,
I think most people are, most of them, if you look at their responses when it comes to it, they'll just say, oh, what about this like white rapist here? So they don't even engage in the actual the actual scandal of it.
No, because they've got cognitive dissonance they have to have, because otherwise their whole worldview is destroyed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Woodpit in the chat says, in Lethal Weapon, I think he means Lethal Weapon 2, the baddies were South Africans. Yeah, I love the bit where 2 South African helicopters get air superiority over America. 2 South African helicopters. That was such a shit film. And you had an Englishman playing the South African baddie, the main guy.
Was that Charles Dance? Was it?
No, he was
the guy from Game of Thrones.
No, it was an older guy.
I know that's the guy who was in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. He was the bad guy in there as well.
Yeah, but he was playing the main South African, and he had the worst South African accent I've ever heard. If he was South African, then I was a Zulu. But anyway, whatever. And I lived in South Africa for 15 years.
That actor had a South African accent in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, if I'm not mistaken.
I've never seen that, but I've seen Lethal Weapon 2, and his South African accent was appalling. The only American I've heard, well, this guy was English, but the only American I've heard who had a decent South African accent was what's his name in Blood Diamond?
Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah,
he did the accent very well, although it was supposed to be a Rhodesian accent, but there's not much difference, to be honest. They were very similar accents, because I knew loads of Rhodesians in South Africa.
What was the geezer in District 9? Because I used to make
fun of it. Yeah. I didn't watch that.
That was a good movie.
Yeah.
People told me it was. I just wasn't interested in it, so I didn't.
He played Harry Mad Murdoch in that A-Team remake as well, but
another movie I never watched. I can only talk about films I've watched, guys. And like,
you talk about this film. I'm like, I've only just learned what the premise is. I've never heard this film at all.
Well, you should go look it up. I put a link to it in our movie channel on Discord. You can go. I put a link to where you can watch it, but you might have to use a VPN because the British government doesn't want you to watch it.
So. The worst one that I saw was who was that actress that was married to Tom Cruise?
Cruise.
I forgot. What was her name?
Cruise, was it? No, not Cruise, because that's Tom Cruise. What was it? The Latin one.
No. The skinny blonde one.
Mexican girl.
No. It was the skinny blonde. Hold on a sec. Oh, God,
I thought Penelope Cruz was married to Tom Cruise for ages.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's not. It's not.
No. It's not that. Nicole Kidman. That's it. Sorry, Nicole Kidman.
You mean she's Australian and she's a redhead, but whatever.
Yeah,
and not very pretty. She never has been very pretty. I don't know how she became a leading lady.
There was a film where she put on, well, basically, it was a fictional country, but it was basically South Africa. And she put on like an Afrikaans accent, and it sounded terrible. God. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible, but yeah.
I'm not a fan of Nicole Kidman. She was an Aussie, by the way. And I never thought she was attractive. I've got to say she wasn't. But,
I've been seeing a lot of pushback about British actors doing the American accent, including when Hugh Laurie did House. Like there are people sort of saying, well, his American accent wasn't that good actually. And
I've no idea. I'm not an American. I can't judge that.
I think I've seen pushback about what's his name? Sherlock.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pushback of Doctor Strange as well. He's American accent because he has the same American accent as Hugh Laurie.
Fair enough.
I'll tell you who.
Don't care.
Who was the Batman guy?
Christian Bale.
Yeah, I can't think of any time I've seen him in a movie where he's not playing an American.
Right, okay, I can help you out. He does the worst Brummie accent ever when he played Ken Miles in Ford vs Ferrari or Le Mans 66, depending on which side of the Atlantic you're on.
He actually gets he gets a British role and he can't do it.
I wonder if he couldn't do it or he had to water it down for the American audience.
Well, I think he might have had to water it down a bit, Mercian, because I have had Americans say to me they don't easily understand Mitch, right? And I can understand Mitch perfectly, but then I'm an Englishman. And I've heard many Midlands and Brummie accents. But I've had Americans say they find it hard. It's like Americans will say they can't understand Morgoth, you know? And like, I understand Morgoth perfectly, but then, you know, my dad's mates were mostly ex-military guys, and most of them were either Geordies or Glaswegians. So I can understand both those lots because when I was a little kid, I heard those accents all the time.
I'm going to 100% say that Christian Bale had to water down the accent because that was a film.
I think you're right.
Mainly American audience.
It's not a bad film, by the way. It's a great film. Yeah, the film's quite good. And Christian Bale's character is quite good too. He's supposed to be a former British World War II tank driver, isn't he, Mercy?
Yeah, I mean Ken Miles. Well, I mean they're all real characters, and yeah, Ken Miles was the test driver.
But he like in World War II, he went across to Normandy and he drove a British tank. So yeah. You know, I mean, it's based on a true story, isn't it? You know, Ford tried to buy Ferrari, and the deal went through. It's a pretty good film, and let me tell you, unlike Mercian, I am not really into cars. Well, I'm not. I'm not a boy racer type at all. But that is not a bad film, actually.
It's a great film. It's for a modern film made within the last 10, 15 years. It's up there with some of the greatest.
I will say Nicky Lauda, the F1 driver, he definitely had some aura about him.
Of autism.
Well, no. No.
The autism instructor. Like I saw. I
always preferred James Hunt. Wasn't that the British dude who was around?
That was the British. Yeah, he was quite. I mean,
Are you referring to the film Rush? AI.
I haven't seen the film. No, I'm just talking about like no.
He's talking about the real people.
Because Rush is based on actual people, and the way the actor portrayed Nicky Lauda, he basically played him as an autist, and like every scene is in his stills. It's sort of like she talked about developing the car sort of thing. Do you use magnesium parts and all this sort of thing, and how he helped develop the. Forget which F1 team it was. I haven't seen it in a while.
Let me just say, right, Mercian has a standing invitation to do a 1 or 2 part series with me on the British car industry, all right? But I couldn't do it because I just don't know enough about it. Mercian does, but also Mercian's busy and he's dealing with various family things that you have to deal with. But I'm saying this because I'm going to stop this car conversation.
But I will end it on this one. High Ford Mods saying he drives a Citroen. He obviously doesn't care about cars either. And this is something Mercian posted earlier. If you have a shitty car, you can rev that to the max, and it's way more fun.
Well, you can also kill it. Before we went live, Farian, I was talking to Mercy, and I said I had 2 cars that I killed. I had an Austin Allegro, surprise, surprise, that I managed to kill, and then I had a Ford Escort Estate that I managed to kill just by going too fast, basically.
On a game of a
In
cast
Britain, I will say, but in Britain in the last century. So, you know.
as a game for the car stuff, the other day I climbed into a RAF to a lightning, electric lightning.
Oh,
You lucky bastard! AI, that would be so cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. Down the road from me, there is like a very small museum, and somehow the chap the person who owns it, he's got like I mean, it's not in great condition, but it's an electric lightning you should climb into. It was great.
I'm so envious of that. For anyone who doesn't know, right, the English Electric Lightning was the one and only British supersonic fighter, but it was brilliant. It was 2 enormous Avon engines, one on top of the other, with wings put on it, basically. And it climbed like a homesick angel. It was one of the fastest aircrafts of its era. And they kept them going into the 1980s. They were really, really good. There are English Electric Lightning pilots who say they managed to intercept American Blackbirds, which were these Mach 3.
The SR-71 Blackbirds.
Yes, that one.
Wow.
Yes, that one, Mercy.
That's still the fastest manned plane, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. There's a new one the Americans are working on. The fastest one everyone knows is that one. Yeah.
I will be honest. When you look at it, when I was looking at it and I was like climbing up into it, I was like, "Holy hell! This is it." It kind of reminds me of those kamikaze planes, the Japanese, but basically it was just designed for speed. It was like a rocket. Basically, this is just a rocket with a seat on it. It's a rocket with a seat and a control, with the basic controls, and it's basically just that. But it's incredible.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. I'm envious of you on that one. I've got to say.
Do you know what? I really wish. I would love to go up in that, and I was talking to my dad about it, and he was fortunate to go up.
You used to be able to AI. You used to be able to in South Africa. They had there was a company down there that had a trainer version of the Lightning with 2 seats, and I don't know if they're still going, but certainly about 10 years ago, you used to be able to sit in the back seat of that, and they'd take you supersonic. That would have been so cool.
Here's a bit of Jeremy Clarkson deep lore. In the 90s, he had a Lightning as lawn art.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And I saw that in Top Gear. Yeah, his wife at the time, not happy.
I was going to say the other one that my dad went in the back seat a few times was the Blackburn Buccaneer, which is also
cool, man. Cool. That was a very good aircraft. Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm originally, but eventually the RAF got them. But that was such a cool plane. That could fly about 5 feet above the sea.
If you look, Andrew, if I'll try and send it over. I think it's in Lincolnshire near RAF Duxford. It shows, and like no joke, you have the Buccaneer come flying in. Everyone who's on the ground, like in the runway on the base, they just jump to the floor because it is flying like, as you said, like 5 feet above the ground. It's crazy. That
was originally a Fleet Air Arm plane. It threw off aircraft carriers. And for anyone who doesn't know, my son's in the Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm, so I'm into the Fleet Air Arm. Also, every single British air-to-air kill since at least 1948 has been by the Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm. But anyway, when the old HMX Ark Royal was going, cats and traps carrier. That was scrapped in 78, sadly. her air group used to be Phantoms and Buccaneers, and they were both very good airplanes for their day. Like, you wouldn't have wanted to fight HMS Ark Royal in the 70s.
Now, the one that I used to see very often at air shows that would come, we lived not obviously near bases, used to see it, and I love the sound of it even to this day because it just gives you goosebumps. It is the Hawker Hunter. The sound,
Yeah,
the engine.
The Hunter's lovely. I've seen many Hunters flying, including in Australia. Also, the Vulcan, another great RAF British plane. That great big Delta Wing bomber that did bombing raids against the Falkland Islands, and being refueled being refueled about 10 times on the way there and 10 times on the way back. But yeah, those really great British aircraft. And I've seen Lightning's AI at air shows. Like, when I was in the military, I went to my battalion was doing my British Army battalion was doing security for the Greenham Common Air Show to make sure, the IRA or anyone didn't blow things up. And one of my wonderful duties at that one was King Hussein of Jordan. And I'm talking about the old King Hussein of Jordan, not the current one. Beta Britannia would know what I'm talking about. He was going to fly a Wessex because he could. And we had to go around on our hands and knees looking for command control detonation wires around his helicopter. That was fun. Yeah.
Arabs love the Arabs. The Saudis purchased like a whole bunch of the
Lightnings.
Lightnings, yeah, and I think even I think the Hunter. Yeah, that they purchased a few, but mainly the Lightnings.
But what I was going to say, AI, is at Greenham Common, and this was like very early 80s. There were Lightnings there because the RAF was still using them as frontline air defense fires, and they're so loud because they got these two enormous David engines, and they take off and then just go vertical. Because there were basically two engines with wings on. It's just so crazy.
I'm sending you. I don't know if you could share the video. I just want to show people.
Long as we don't get a copyright strike.
It's someone's YouTube. It's just like some random YouTube, like 15 years ago.
Should be all right.
On the sec. Let's.
If you put it in the media thing at the bottom, I might be able to share it.
Well, why I was getting that, there was an air tattoo at the Albrighton RAF base near me.
It's in the chat. It's in the studio chat link.
And
let me check.
The World War II era plane flew over my place, and I've put it in general chat and memes in the Discord. If anyone can identify that plane, I'd like to know.
Go on, AI, go check it, man. If you don't know, then I'll have a look.
Let's have a look. Where is it?
It'd be in general chat and memes on the Discord.
Hold on a sec. General chat and memes. Let's have a look. Is it the latest one?
Yeah, it should be the latest one. Yeah.
That I believe that is a Hurricane.
It's two engines.
Yeah, that's the thing that threw me.
If it's got two engines, it's not a Hurricane, guys.
It doesn't look. Look like a mosquito.
Do you want to put it up on the stream?
Let me have a look. Okay, let me see. I've got a. Is this a video or just a picture?
No, she's just a photo. I took it to show my dad, but because he's bedbound.
I can't tell what that is from that angle, mate. I'm sorry.
I can tell you it was the shape of a Hurricane or a Spitfire, but it has two engines.
No, it's not either of those. It could be.
Is it the Whirlwind?
Oh, I think
Westerland Whirlwind, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
It could be that. It could be. Oh, what was it called? the Lockheed P-38. It could be
No.
that.
That had the split. That had the split tail.
Yeah, but
Hang
you
on,
can't.
guys. Is this a propeller plane or a jet
Yeah,
plane?
It's
got
a
propellers.
propeller plane. It looks to be World War II era. Twin engine. I think that, I mean, they were definitely Merlin type engines.
Is it British?
I couldn't tell if it's British or not, but
Ah,
all
right,
I can say is the RAF
I mean,
base
from
near
that
me.
angle, it could be fucking anything, mate.
Oh
I'm
no,
sorry.
it looks like a modern plane from that angle. But
No, I mean, it literally could be anything. It could be a Dakota. It could be a Lightning. Oh, well, not a Lightning because it's got a single tail. But it could be a Bristol Boo fighter. It could be.
I've got my.
Mozzie,
You can share my
maybe?
screen, Duke.
It looks. I'm just going to put on. I think this might be. It looks like the what's that Japanese? The Japanese. What
There's
was it?
the screen. If you can tell what that is, you're cleverer than me, guys. I got to tell you.
yeah. All
Really,
I will tell you is,
I just can't.
apart from the fact it has two engines, it does look like a Spitfire or a Hurricane or
Well,
a
not
DP.
really, because they're single-engine aircraft.
No, I know,
okay.
but the profile looks like. So if anyone knows of a plane that has a profile of any of those planes, but with twin engine, that's what it is.
I've got one here. Hold on a second. Let me just see if I can share it, because this is the only thing that I can think that maybe it resembles. Hold on a second. I'll just share it underneath. Now, just think about it from looking at it from behind. That's the only. Okay, I've put it down in the chat, in the general chat memes. I mean,
it could be a mosquito. I can't really tell the size from here. From angle.
It could be a mosquito for sure.
Yeah, well, it could. I've seen what mosquitoes look like though. Where it meets a profile of a mosquito, but I know it's not quite. Yeah, it looked like that.
Well, that's a lightning that I've got from you, AI.
What AI posted in the general chat?
That's the lightning I've got.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
That's a lightning going vertical just after it takes off, which is so cool. That thing was such a brilliant plane.
It is cool. It is cool.
The lightning was a cool plane, mate. It really was.
What's this video that AI shared with us? That's
the lightning. That's the lightning, Mercian, that taking off vertically, and I think it's in South Africa, going by the tail markings of the airliner that's there.
Do you want to share it, Duke, or everyone watching?
Well, I guess I could.
There you go, chat. Thinking of you.
Well, I mean, it's easy to find the lightning taking off vertically. There you go, guys.
Never mind.
go on YouTube and just put lightning taking off vertically. You won't find it too difficult to find one.
I remember. I don't know what. I remember going to an air tattoo in the 90s, and I remember seeing a plane doing a trick where it basically put its nose towards the sky and hovered for like a few seconds, and then leveled out. And I forget what plane it was, but it was really impressive.
All right, now AI is trying to confuse me. He's putting up Japanese planes that have just crashed. Okay, right.
Well, in general chat and memes, I'm sort of suggesting
on the
yeah, that's what he means. Yeah, that's what he's.
Yeah, because this is what I was saying, that the plane that AI has put down is the most likely the plane I saw.
I don't even know where AI's gone now.
Oh, well.
He's disappeared into deep plane world.
Yeah.
Also known as autism.
Like Niki Lauda. I really like the film Rush. I'm going to watch it again soon. I think it was a good film. I think I like too many of these car films. I just watched The Man from Lamborghini last night. I really enjoyed that one as well.
Do you know what I don't get, guys? Right, it's why Britain doesn't have a movie about the Fleet Air Arm in the Falklands War. Right?
Do we have any Falklands movies?
Well, there's one or two, but they're basically crap. There's the original one where it's mainly about Thatcher and shit like that. But you get the fight at the governor's house at the end, and then there is Mount Tumbledown, which is really about a Scottish guy getting badly wounded. But there are no, like, if the Americans did the Falklands War, there'd be like 6 films about it by now.
The only good
Easily.
one is one about Rex Hunt, the and the Marines.
Yeah, I just said that. Anyway.
Oh, you just said that.
The one that is mainly
Yeah.
It's got Mrs. Thatcher in it, but it does have the Royal Marines fighting to defend the governor's house at the end of it. And the only other one is like Mount Tumbledown, which is some Scottish poor bugger getting hit at the end of the fight.
So this one, sorry, I just shared a video here which Duke's got up. This is the Blackburn Buccaneer. So this one was designed for low altitude flying, and this was the one my dad went in when he was in the RAF.
That would be cool. When they were retired from the RAF, from the Fleet Air Arm, they were given to the RAF.
Yes.
They flew so low that
Really,
no enemy anti-aircraft missile had much chance of hitting them, to be honest, because they were flying so low.
But there's a fuel saving technique from flying that low. There's sort of like a Russian hovercraft turned plane that kind of does that. And it goes.
Oh yeah, on the Aral Sea, they had them on the Aral Sea. Yeah.
Yeah, and people be like, well, why don't they get him to properly take off? But you save so much fuel by that cushion of air.
Yeah, it's a ground surface effect. It's a bit different from the Blackburn Buccaneer, but yes. But the thing about the Blackburn Buccaneer is that, like, picking up an aircraft that is 6 feet above the surface of the sea is very, very difficult.
Tim Davies, who he's always talking about, like, because his tornado stuff did a lot of low level stuff in that.
Yeah, if you can fly that low, and the Blackburn Buccaneer could fly lower than a tornado, because it was designed to. You wouldn't have wanted to fight HMS Ark Royal, the old big one, in the day, because you probably wouldn't have picked up those Buccaneers before they were dropping 1,000-pound bombs on your deck. And the Buccaneer also had this brilliant rotary bomb bay that meant that the Buccaneer could fly really fast, really low, because it had I think it was 4, AI will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 4 1,000-pound bombs, but they were in a rotary bomb bay that you could just rotate, drop, rotate, drop, rotate, drop.
What year was the Buccaneer? Do you know?
It was originally developed in the 50s, but it was still a very good aircraft in the late 1970s.
Yeah, and we were by far the best in the world with jets around that era. They're just so far ahead of everyone else.
There were a lot of great British jets. I mean, as AI has pointed out, the Hawk Hunter, You could also mention the Canberra, a brilliant reconnaissance aircraft that went for a very long time.
That was used by everyone as well, all over the
yeah,
world.
Yeah, the Americans even produced
Yeah.
their own version of the Canberra because it was so good. Then there was, the English Electric Lightning. There was the brilliant Vulcan. There were a lot of good British aircraft back in those days. Before the British government, and I have to say it was the Labour British government, decided to close down the British aircraft industry.
They wanted to focus on missiles, didn't they? I thought it was all like the future's all just
that was actually
missiles.
That was originally the Conservatives, because in, I think, AI will correct me, I think it was about 1957, the Conservative government, because they were cunts basically, decided, nah, manned aircraft are finished. In 1957, mark you. Manned aircraft are finished. It's all going to be drones. It's going to be missiles. Pretty much what we're hearing today, really.
I mean, even today, you're seeing how like the missile doctrine, it just doesn't really work in war because they're so expensive to make, and they can't, unless you're sticking nukes on the end of them, they can't do enough damage to cover their costs, really.
I mean,
you can, but it's expensive.
You're not going to win. Yeah, it's like, yeah,
I mean,
you need more.
The thing there is with fighters like the Lightning and Buccaneer, particularly the Buccaneer, that is designed for assisting ground troops. That's designed for assisting armored
and
column
ships.
And ground
it's
troops.
Also, it's really designed to destroy ships. AI, to be fair.
Well, yeah, and ships as well. But if you were to talk about land wise, that's what it's there for. But yeah, ships as well. But the problem is, there is no then and now. You can't exactly fight a conflict solely with missiles or even solely with aircraft to win. You can. I think, and I said this last time, with the Turkish invasion of Cyprus and the threats that were made to the bases. Now, we just shown you like a fraction of what was capable. Quite easily, the British RAF at the time, even there with the jets that they had, they could have run rings around the Turkish.
For sure, 100%.
Yeah, and basically just brought a stop to their invasion, or hampered it to the point, and that's why the Turks were like, we're not messing with the British.
Well, back in the day, AI, you will know, right? There was still RAF airborne early warning Shackletons, which made Shackleton pilots, right? The Shackleton was a descendant of the Lancaster, basically. But instead of having four engines with 4 propellers, it had 4 engines with 8 propellers. And so Shackleton crew used to turn around and say that 8 slow screws were a lot better than 2 short thrusts any day, which is an RAF joke. If you're an RAF guy, AI, for example, will absolutely get.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the ridiculous thing about our government is there was also this multilateral. There was always this obsession with being multilateral. Like even to this day now, it's like, oh well, we'll rely on German cavalry and armored divisions. We'll rely on like French aircraft or the Italian Navy. All this bollocks, and then of course we'll all come under the big global hegemon America and daddy for missile and everything else defense. And it's like, even with the most destructive parts of World War II, we still afterwards had a great navy and a booming. I mean, the RAF, of course, we had a great air force, we had a great army. All of it. I mean, and what's sad is, if we were defeated in battle, I could come to terms with it in that regard. I can say, yeah, we'll defeat the battle, whatever. But it's when it's done from within by some of the most just utter cunts on the planet. It's awful. Sorry for swearing around like that.
By our own traitor politicians, basically.
I should say AI. What
the Royal Navy, the British Army, and the RAF have never been destroyed by the enemy. They've been destroyed by British politicians, people like Ed Miliband, etc., etc., etc.
Should say AI on your point there. One of the things the French have done well is they have kept everything domestic, really, with their military.
Yeah, it's Gaullism. It's de Gaullism. They didn't have fucking a new Labour Party and the Tories. They were free from all that bollocks, and also they were free from the sort of liberals, treacherous liberals from the Oxbridge and Cambridge sect who flooded institutions with, I mean, when they weren't passing, passing secrets to every foreign country like some, dog on heat.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what it comes down to, and
traitorous cunts is entirely correct, actually. Joel W. Kemp. That's what these people were, traitorous cunts. They were New Labour, but they were also so-called conservatives and obviously the Lib Dems.
I mean, Duke, one thing that always boggles my mind, I mean, all of us here, I mean, probably even you to a degree, given your age, we were all born either way after the Empire, or at least when the Empire was declined to the point of largely gone. But you have these people who were born and grew up and lived through during the height of, well, not so much the height, but definitely during the point where the British Empire, where Britain was still a proud nation, a prosperous nation, a nation of people, of British people with an empire, and they grew up through this and were like, nah, fuck this, let's burn this all down. Like, I can't, that's such
traitorous cunts. AI traitorous cunts. Honestly, that's what they were. Traitorous.
But it's like, isn't there, like, you'd think you'd want a bit of self-preservation, right? I always think that this is sort of a thing that people should have, but then you've got to realize, and actually some people just don't. They just don't have that at all.
I think there are some, I mean, like John Cleese, for example. Now his thing is he never, to give him credit, he never attacked like the British identity. He attacked it to a point, but not on that level. He more attacked to like the religious, and English society. But now, and of course, he was a big Liberal Party guy back in the day, Liberal Democrat. But I think now, when for him, his thing has been like the demographic change, of London and everything else. And I think he has somewhat regretted, like his whole thing was bringing down the old British English aristocratical society and the social bonds of that society. And it's gone. It's gone completely. I think New Labour was the final nail in the coffin for that. And a lot of that happened because of the ridicule that was done by Monty Python and that sort of crowd, but a lot of it was done as well through other means. But he was part of it, and I think on some level he does regret what I mean, so he shouldn't. He should.
Hang on, AI. When you talk about Monty Python, and I see what you're saying, you're not wrong at all. But if you watch The Life of Brian, for example, and you see the National Jewish Liberation Front talking about how evil the Romans are, right? Isn't that kind of a commentary on the British, really? I mean, how ridiculous the Jewish National Liberation Front was?
Well, I think he was poking fun of I think he was maybe they were poking fun of political movements, where you have like the Democratic Labour Party, and then you have like like that sort of thing. But I see what you mean. I was thinking more of like the Ministry for City Walks and things like that. I mean, it's not like overly subversive where it's like it's just all out attack. I mean, but what I'm saying is it's like a thing that chipped away.
I hated that.
Yeah,
but I've thought by the time Monty Python got to the Life of Brian, they were actually poking fun at the left more than Britain, to be honest.
Yeah, they were poking fun of. I mean, the Jewish liberation and the liberation was basically like the urban revolutionary movements in America, and I mean it was commentary on that, but also in Britain and Europe, where you had like these various splinter Marxist groups. But the problem was those splinter Marxist groups, and in Britain as well, they ended up just becoming New Labour, politicians in New Labour.
Why are you discussing like the Judean People's Front and all that? I was thinking how we used to mock some left wing politics. I think back to an episode of Red Dwarf, Polymorph, where a polymorph took all the personalities of the crew, and Arnold Rimmer became a Jeremy Corbyn type, and they were making fun of him. He came up with the Committee for the Liberation and Integration of Terrifying Organisms and Rehabilitation into Society, or Clitoris for short.
Yeah,
and you never get something like that making fun of a Jeremy Corbyn type now.
It's because I think a lot of it was because you had the Soviet Union, and there was always that there was that thing where you had the Soviet Union, where a lot of that you would associate, right, Corbyn and the left with the Soviet Union. But the problem is and this is where you have the Leninist, Stalinist, and Trotskyite divide. A lot of it is this sort of harsh, emotionless, like the most extreme radical form of Marxism and communism was actually Trotskyite in stuff. So I would say, if you look at Corbyn, for example, he is quite an emotionless figure, and for him, the most important thing really isn't community or anything. It's just like for him, it's like that sort of endless struggle.
Yeah,
and that's what.
AI, let me ask you this, mate. Right, I know my view on this, but has any British Prime Minister since 1945 put the British people first? Has any of them done that? Like a single one?
I mean, Starmer was on track, apparently, they're saying, to get net negative immigration. If only we'd trusted him.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make a joke here. No, I'm trying to say,
Liz Truss.
guys,
maybe Liz Truss.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm asking, in their heart of hearts, in their brain, not some silliness like what Starmer might or might not have done. Since 1945, name me one British Prime Minister who really, really mostly cared about the real Anglo-Celtic British people. I bet you can't. I bet you can't.
I'd say
not to hold on a second, not to joke, because I know I said Liz Truss a second ago. Now, of course, she would not qualify because, of course, she is a Zionist. She's her interests are elsewhere. It's not with British people. But having said that, though, look at why the state got rid of her very quickly as Prime Minister, right? It was because she wanted to, actually change the, I guess you could say try radically change the financial system within the country and how, who has like authority over this. And that's why, she was removed very quickly.
My point, gentlemen, is name one.
I mean, I'd have
single.
I'd have said
one single.
I mean, I'd
British
have
Prime
say
Minister.
I'd have said Enoch Powell, but of course that was why he was
Wasn't
removed
British.
from.
He wasn't British Prime Minister.
No,
was
but
he?
that's what I'm saying. He was on track to that though, and he was someone who actually cared about our people, and they all
Oh yeah,
have
I'd
that.
agree.
So that's why
I totally agree.
actions
But
were taken to make sure he didn't become Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
But no, if we're absolutely honest, not a single one, even Liz
Not
Truss,
one.
yeah, not a single one,
Fucking one. Not even Margaret Thatcher. None of them.
Sad, isn't it?
No, not a single one, and the same will be said, unfortunately, going forward, with whoever succeeds.
Well, I hope not.
Burnham
Actually,
and
I hope not.
Because obviously
we might still win. We might get Rupert Lowe. You never know.
Well, obviously on Splendid Isolation, we all believe Rupert Lowe will become Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Well,
we are manifesting.
I don't even know if I believe that. I want to see Restore Britain win. I don't know, 50 seats at the next general election, which might keep Reform UK honest. But that's pretty much what I'm hoping for.
I can see the next.
Well, the only way that I can foresee Rupert Lowe having a good victory next time is, there's rumours going around that Farage is going to bail, like he's done several times.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think that could happen.
Yeah, perfectly possible.
Which would be a massive boost for Lowe. But this is the thing: Lowe needs to now stop talking about being done over by Farage and all that personal vendetta stuff, because it just comes across as petty.
Agreed.
So that needs to stop. Number two, I think he can talk about Rand and the market access stuff, but he needs to have someone as his deputy who represents
AI.
wings of the party.
Okay, this is a fairly serious, I hope, political channel. All right. And people are saying, make Charlie Downs deputy leader. He's not old enough, mate. He's not. Charlie Downs, I don't dislike him, although I think some of his glib comments are a bit stupid. But he's not old enough to be deputy leader of that party. I'm sorry, he's not. Nor is Connor Tomlinson, by the way.
Can I address Joel W. Kemp in the chat? Because he says there's a lot of red flags around Lowe.
Yeah, I thought this would happen, but yeah, Mercy, and go for it.
No, I was just. I mean, Joel, you've got to understand that Rupert Lowe is a boomer, and a lot of his rhetoric is outdated. But I don't see any red flags. I see minor irritations and criticisms. I don't see any red flags.
100.
Would anyone like to add anything to that?
Like
no,
my
100, Mercy.
Yeah,
Rupert Lowe is even older than me, and he makes even sillier mistakes than I do. But you know what? Rupert Lowe is a serious politician. And Charlie Downs is too young to be a deputy leader of a party. I'm sorry, he just is. You have to have a little bit of life experience to do that.
Yeah, and that's why
that's where Reform are losing out at the moment. Although you've got who's that chap that everyone now talks about?
Frank Wright or something like that, is it?
Yeah, Frank Wright. You need some people in that age group, and hopefully not Sargon, who they can take in to give them like some gravitas. You know, the Romans used to say gravitas. It's the right word.
I think the problem with the Lotus Eaters is that while they're good at video analysis and like
producing content, narrative content and all that on various different topics. When it comes to like political stuff, and particularly with Sargon, he is like a massive blundering. He's just one blunder after another, and without being harsh, some people are like that. That I've known people who are even elected MPs who are crap at campaigning, because I've done a lot of campaigning. I know there are people who are crap
100,
communicators
100,
who are in
100.
politicians. I mean, fucking hell, Keir Starmer is, you know, objectively, he was a crap communicator. I think every Labour Party member would agree with that, frankly, when it comes down to it. Everyone would agree. He was crap.
AI, let me tell you, right? As an infantry soldier who was once a sergeant commanding a company, and I did command the company, we had no lieutenant. I've known many infantry officers who didn't have the slightest idea about tactics. None at all. Like, really stupid about it. It's not that uncommon. It is not that uncommon.
Yeah, and this is the thing, it happens, and then you've got, they end up becoming more of a hindrance than anything else. And I think, and we talked about this, and I've come to the conclusion. I think looking back at the Makerfield by-election, I think, not just a couple of guys load seaters, but their help while organising was great. But ultimately, a lot of those guys were a bit of a hindrance to. I mean, there are other factors, of course, but there was a massive hindrance. I think one of the biggest problems is, and I'm doing this at the moment, where you're taking something which is very online and you're planting it in the real world. And as you say, Duke, that it's the quality of the man. I'm with the Pendragon Foundation. We're doing castle restorations. A lot of this was formulated online, online spaces and discords and what have you. But then it comes to that point where, we have to go into the real world. How do we make sure everyone who's involved with this is quality, has actually got the level of skill and quality about them? Maybe not even skill, maybe skill's not right, but who've actually got the mindset
and leadership. AI
and
leadership.
I think the point isn't you don't need everyone to be of quality. You just need discipline and messaging, and that's something Restore needs to work on, because you're going to get lots just the peasants. Just tell them what to do.
No. Hang on.
No, you know what I mean. You've got like thousands of volunteers.
You do need leadership. You do.
Yeah.
You need someone to stand there and say, "Look, guys, we're going to do this."
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
And people to say, "Yeah, cool, that sounds good." You don't slag off.
I'm not slagging them off. I'm not. No, I'm just saying. Really. A lot of people just. You like what AI is saying, just need everyone to be of quality. Well, you don't really. You need just a few people who can manage everyone.
Well, you do need a certain quality in all of them. Like, I honestly, if I'm not going to say peasant because I don't like that word, Sarah. But if a peasant,
I am a peasant myself, so
well, all right, okay. If you're a peasant, if you come forward and you're not a bad man. You're not a low quality man, but you might need some leadership,
I mean, my example is like with what I've been doing, we've had people who don't do the work, don't work as a team, are in it for just the clicks and the grift and the publicity. Those sorts of people, I say, have zero quality because they're leechers. They just latch on. And then on the other side, you've got people who do get involved, who are in it, who are in it for the project, who don't care about the views and the clicks and the fame, the
all right. Yeah, you're correct. They're like people who are in it for the right reasons.
Yeah, and I will say that there are people who have joined Restore and want to join Restore. Some of it is because it's their latest podcast grift. Some of it is because they want to, they were maybe saw the winds change because there was a element of energy behind
That's why I
Rupert
did it,
originally.
AI.
Yeah,
That's why I did it. I mean,
and
I
but
didn't really get gradually pissed off with Nigel Farage. I just immediately went to Rupert. But whatever.
but there are people who joined because they wanted a political career out of it, which I think a few people we mentioned, you know,
Sure,
had
sure,
that in mind.
sure, sure,
And
sure, sure.
you know, at the end of the day, you know, we want in any move, in any organization. I said this with people with what I'm doing. I want people who are just dedicated to the vision. I want people who are passionate about the vision, and you can ask around it, and I can tell if someone's not interested or have ulterior motives, and they're gone. They're gone. A lot of them are gone. And even if it is, you know, we have a core group of 50 people, at least it's going to be 50 amazing. I mean, there's one chap who I work with. He's worth at least 20 people that I've, you know, with the knowledge that he's got on the architecture side and what have you. He's worth like 20 people. And when you have a team of those guys, you know, anything is possible. And that's where that's why British people have been great in history, why we are still can be great again, and we are great. It's just because of that. You know, it's that mindset, and it's that dedication. It's why, you know,
AI, I'll say this, right? On my Discord, all I look for is someone who is pro real British Anglo-Celtic people. And that includes the English and the British, but it also includes the Canadians and the Scottish and the New Zealanders and the Welsh and the South Africans. Some of those. But yeah, that's what I look at. Is do you really like these people, like my people? Then yeah, fine. That's all I care about. That's all all of us should care about, really.
yeah, and it's not that difficult. And someone in the chat said the problem is, I hate to say it, I don't know if there is a political solution, or even if we should be pursuing any yet. I mean, I'm not, you know, people are going to do what they're going to do, and I'm not going to, I can't stop them. I won't stop them. But at the same time, unfortunately, with the parliamentary system and the political system in the West, it attracts, you know, it just attracts these people, and I don't know what's going to happen. But what I do know will happen is that we are doing projects now which are going to preserve the British identity, whether we have a Labour, Tory, Restore, Reform, Green government. It doesn't matter, because what's started now is more important than any of that, and none of those clowns will ever be able to change what's going on now. You know, in elsewhere. You know, what's going on around the
You're
country.
right. You're right, AI. But I honestly think we have 2029 is our limit for voting our way out of this. Now, there are many people, possibly including yourself, AI, but certainly including Alman, who think that Britain can get into a much worse position and will still win. And they may be right? They may be right. And if it really came down to a fight, sure, I'll be there with my rifle, right? But I've got to say, I'd much prefer we do it politically. It would be far less messy and would lead to far less good white Anglo-Celtic British people being killed. So
Yeah.
I'd prefer to do it like by voting.
I know you're right. Anyone who suggests civil war is an idiot. And
And they haven't seen a civil war. They haven't
no,
seen one.
a,
They
a
haven't
civil
seen how vile it is.
a civil war, no matter when it's in history, even with the English Civil War that happened, back in the 17th century, what it does is it destroys your country demographically because you end up wiping out near enough a generation of the youth. It ends
Yeah,
up
I
creating.
think, I think it's right that the English Civil War killed about 25% of Englishmen under 40. I think.
Yeah, and also it depopulated towns. It made farmland unusable. It caused a terminal decline in what this country produced. I mean our navy, be that we talked about this on stream, the navy became like non-existent. You end
Yep.
up having also you end up having this bitterly divided country, with other on ideology, but also on social religious grounds where it didn't exist before. You also had this distrust between the nations of like England and Scotland
Yep.
and Ireland. It
Yep.
created, and this happens with civil wars. It it doesn't actually resolve the problem, and it ends up creating even more. Look at the reformers in Russia who instigated the revolution in the Tsar, where a lot of them just wanted an English-style parliament. What did they get? They got Bolshevism. They got mass killings. They
Yep.
got
Yep.
the destruction of the Russian heritage and church.
We're missing Mitch this evening, who knows much more about this than most of us. But yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But I mean, and also even the calls, any calls to war, the First World War, you had people in the streets of Germany who were cheering it on, and in our streets and everything. And look what happened 4 years later. A lot of those imperial monarchies ceased to exist. You had new countries. You had countries which were created out of thin air, which had no right and reason to. And Germany became smaller. A lot of these countries became
Yeah,
smaller.
and
And
all the breakup of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, mainly by the Americans, who then wouldn't even sign the treaty at the end of it. So that was a waste of time. Can I also say to AF 3833, get fucked? That's not going to happen, man.
I mean,
Like
look
we're still an ethnic majority.
the demographics are
Yeah.
nowhere close to being remotely the same.
Yeah, you're completely wrong, mate. All right. So go back to your left wing hidey hole or
I'll also
wherever you came from.
one thing I will also add is, and this might be the only white pill I can give this evening. If you look at the minorities that exist in this country, they're the generations that you see coming here. They are some of them. They're even more depraved than and dysgenic than a lot of the white populations. Many of them take drugs. Many of them consume alcohol. Many of them are addicted to porn. We look at all the liberal problems in our society. It affects a lot of those guys as well. If we're being honest, it affects a lot of them. And
I think
know,
worse as well. Like a lot of these things, like they talk about porn addiction and stuff. I think there is an ethnic component to it. Like some ethnicities just really can't cope.
Well,
and I think a lot of them are worse.
Also, guys, look up, right? You can make it very uncomfortable to live in England or Britain for a third world person. You can make it very uncomfortable. Like if you can't get free national health service, if you can't get free social security or like money when you're not working, if you can't get free social housing, if you cannot have Sharia law or
food,
halal
special food,
halal slaughter, or what's the Jewish one?
kosher.
Kosher slaughter. If you can't get those things, it's much easier to move away. It really is. And many of them will. And also, they're going to stop coming because, well, we're not going to get any of the, you know, unless you're a moron, right? Everyone knows the reason all these black, brown people keep coming across the English Channel and arriving at English airports and British airports is that they're going to get free money and free mobile phones and free this and free that. If they don't get any of those things, they are going to stop coming. They really are. They're going to go, oh, well, there's no point in going there then, because I'll be the same as I am. And this is the truth, right? This is the real truth that Restore Britain needs to put out there all the time. Like, these people are parasites on normal Anglo-Celtic white British society, and then there's no reason that we have to support them. We don't.
Yeah. One thing I also wanted to mention, like Mercer was saying in their response to that comment about red flags about Lowe. Like my mum, she is a boomer, so she she doesn't like the foreigners, right? But she won't say it because that's just not what you do, right? That's not what their generation's like.
Yeah, you keep quiet about that. Yes, absolutely, Vera.
I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, with the low red flags, yeah, it's. I'm going to be honest. I didn't really have much hope for Lowe personally. If I've been absolutely honest, I knew what he was like before.
You're
I
a
knew
hard man, You're a really hard man.
No, the thing is, he was Duke. Let's just be realistic for a minute. He was a Thatcherite, a self-proclaimed Thatcherite, and a big follower of Randian, theory. Ayn Rand, right? And he's very open about it. Now, I'm going to be honest with you that part of that, that sect, that way of thinking, is one of the reasons we got these problems today. Now, I'm not saying that, of course, he disagrees with the mass movement of people and all that, which is the key thing. But at the end of it, that's one thing that I, looking at it.
You have to get real, man.
I do.
You have to stop living in this, I don't know, mythical 1930s thing. You've got to stop it.
I do think having someone like Lowe is a good moderating effect on like you look like the younger lads. It sort of stops some of them getting up their own asses too much.
Yeah. And many younger lads will go straight up their own arse.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, people sort of saying, all the red flags about Lowe or anything. It's nothing about anything he said has actually shocked me from anything he's said. It's not like he's done a Farage and turncoated.
Yeah, I didn't like some of it, right? Mercian, I didn't like some of it. I wish he hadn't have said it, but did it surprise me? No, not really. He's a 68-year-old man.
I mean, my point,
AI is a good guy, right? I really like AI, but I'm not sure he's that much to the right of me. But the difference between AI and me is how far right I am. I don't tell everyone because why should I?
But the thing is, with Lowe, he is like a massive self-proclaimed radical individualist, and
I know.
And while if he was just like some bog standard free marketeer, I could probably go, oh yeah, whatever. But I don't want immigration.
He's not. But he's not that.
But he's not that. But the thing there is, at the end of the day, if you, it's not even about like saying saying X and doing Y or something like that. He can do that, but he is just a genuine free marketeer.
Mhm.
Sorry, he's a genuine individualist, and
But I'm not a communist, AI. I'm not a communist. I'm not. All right.
I'm not. But the thing is, I think being individualist is why our societies are so crap today, because being individualist means that you don't, there's nothing beholds you to the people.
But AI.
Anyone can be
You're
British, Duke. Anyone
but
can be
you're
British.
but
We.
AI. You're looking at the real world, right? Not your world or my world. You're looking at the real world. I'm sorry. The British leader should be fairly free market, I think. Not totally. Like, I think there are things like utilities and probably the
Yeah,
railways that should be nationalized. They should be.
it's like
Um,
if you want
yeah.
to be a real country, you do need to have policies that make you
Yeah,
wealthy.
I'm gonna
absolutely
be,
right.
I'll be honest.
Absolutely. But
If I'm gonna be honest, I don't. Free market has never been popular in this country, and actually to the opposite.
all
Whenever
right. All
someone's ever
right.
tried to institute it in this country, it energizes the left, because Labour Party will do the cynical thing of pretending to be against it, but instead they will obviously do the halfway house with it.
Well, I think we can get like, I mean, I agree with like a good compromise on like
You
where
have a
you keep
you have a
maximum freedom,
compromise.
you keep maximum freedom kind of within the nation, but you make it hard for outside forces.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
Like
Samsung's.
that's
the British energy industry should probably just be British and could
Yeah,
be nationalised.
yeah,
The
that's all I'm
railways,
asking. Yeah.
yeah.
could be nationalised. The water
Like
industry and all that.
That's
like
all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking, because every time and I've had this with so many dipshit Tory people in the past who had this problem with this obsession with the free market, and I've always come back to this. Well, okay, you're competing in this supposed global free market. Every company in China is owned by the state,
yeah.
by one way or another. So
Exactly.
If you look at
yeah,
Samsung, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
South Korea was a fucking farming village, but they just pushed.
The British steel industry needs to be nationalised. The
yes.
British dockyards who are building Royal Navy warships need to be nationalised. They do. Absolutely. I got no problem with
Yeah,
that.
and the thing though is, unfortunately, the current, I mean, through Thatcher
Yeah,
and Blair, we become a service-based economy
yeah,
from
yeah.
this city,
Yeah,
from
I
Canary Wharf,
listen.
and it's not.
AI, you know, we've talked about this on this stream before. Um, I want to reindustrialize Britain. I want two really good, modern, totally modern, automated coal mines opened in Wales to produce
Yeah,
the best and cleanest coal in the whole of the world, which they could do, right? But I want those things to happen, and if you want those, you can't do it with private industry. It won't work.
no, all of it has to be national. All of it
Those
has to
have to
be
be nationalized. They do.
state-owned.
But you have to make them efficient, of course.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, you can even do charters. I mean, look at the East India. I mean, I'm going to bring this one up.
Yep,
The East
yep,
India
yep.
Company.
East
Yeah,
India Company, yep.
because
Good point.
the problem is, you can the talent is there. I mean, I think this is where Rupert does get it right. Talent is there, but they go into the private sector. Those sorts of people who have that, particularly with the coal industry, who can make it, you know, find efficient ways. Those in engineering, in and and so on and so forth. Those people exist, but you need to bring them back into, a nationalized base. And look, there is no okay, and I know the argument will be, well, it will just cost the country too much. Hello,
Yeah.
if you're supplying on
Yeah.
all your manufacturing goods, your computer chips, your electronics from hostile nations to produce for you, I mean, forget about the cost to the country a minute. Just forget about it for a minute. Um, you're a vassal because you're unable to do anything. When it comes to independence and sovereignty, the reason why that only works is when you produce your own things because you're not beholden to anybody. You just take Germany for example. Clearest one is they rely on their gas, during just before the Ukraine war broke out from
Mm-hmm.
Russia. Germany was then put in this sort of position where they couldn't exactly too openly condemn Russia because Russia will switch off the gas, but at the same time they got their obligations from NATO and everything else, and so they were put in this really this ridiculous position where they tried to go play both sides. Of course, it didn't work, and they had to choose, and then they lost their gas unnecessarily, massively unnecessarily for them and their people if they were energy sufficient and independent.
And with nuclear, anyone can be these days.
Yeah, nuclear. There's been zero investment in nuclear facilities and in nuclear energy. It could be made far easier, probably even on a smaller scale, and safer. And people who bring up Fukushima, don't build a fucking nuclear station on a tectonic plate for start, which has earthquakes for one, and then on the second bit of Chernobyl, we're not going to have like dodgy Soviet scientists build our nuclear our nuclear fission reactors, so don't worry.
Yeah. Joel mentioned, or no, Woodpit. I think one of them mentioned about Norway's sovereign wealth fund. I think Labour talked in the election. They talked about doing a wealth fund, but they wanted to invest it all into green stuff and carbon capture because there's so much money to be made from carbon capture. Just taking carbon and just burying it.
It's insane because like with the hot weather, the hot spell we had now, a lot of the solar panels have fried because it's been they've actually fried because they've been overloaded. So it's like none of it works. Just none of it works. And I mean the Green Lobby needs to just be declared a terrorist outfit now because they must be working with foreign powers like China or something.
The thing is, with this heat wave, they've got a lot. You sort of the point to this heat wave. As I understand it, though, I think we're in an El Nino year, which could account for a lot of it.
It's one of the funny things about the green. You say Greens being terrorists. Russia also had like their green movement during the Soviet sort of era, where like these people are to saying that Russia's got to stop drilling oil. These Russians, wow, and they thought it was all the Americans pushing it.
There is power with these NGO groups to push things within your country that and there's no shortage of stupid teenagers who would fall for it. I mean, in any country, these easily highly emotional, easily persuasive, can't think logically or think for themselves or critique any position they have to
they sort of there's this stuff about air conditioning at the moment, and you are seeing some of the green types just say, no, we want all of you to suffer in the heat, so you get that climate change is a real thing and you do something about it. You give us full communism so we can fix climate change, and you can't have air conditioning because then you might be okay with it.
Oh, did you see the LA Brown thing on Jeremy Vine where she was right? And my favourite thing is even India, and she went superpower. What the fuck? What? You didn't
any day now.
That in. I mean,
any day now.
Yeah,
what a way to say what side you're on. Tell us where you stand without telling us where you stand.
Well, it's only a superpower if you measure if you measure a country based on its GDP, which is just basically quantitative population
just
growth
shit happening. It doesn't mean really anything.
Yeah, it'd be like saying
population everywhere. Well, they have a space program.
It's really funny because if you ever play like Victoria 3, obviously whoever designed that originally, when the Paradox designed it, you had like this sort of like mismanagement because everything was determined on GDP, right, within the game. But then like you have the Opium Wars, and of course you have Britain, which okay, so naturally China would be in the game would be number one because they have the highest population on than any country on the map, right? Particularly than Britain. And so, whenever Britain, you would attack it economically. If you were to play it out with the AI, that China would win. But then in reality, like if you play as Britain, like the player, well, you win hands down easily because you win hands down because you can you have the technological ability, and it doesn't really matter how many peasants they can have. They can't muster them in any meaningful capacity, and they can't compete with these certain markets.
Have you seen those demographic reports that basically put like India, China, and like the Middle East, all the demographics of the world on some like on a weird pie chart Venn diagram thing, and like Western Europe's tiny. It's sort of like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's more of us have ever existed all throughout history. I'm not worried. Just make sure all these third worlders from all these countries that overpopulate themselves don't come over here. We're fine.
Yeah. And even if you want to talk about GDP, I've got it here. India's GDP is $4.15 trillion. Ours is 4.26 trillion. Do we feel like a superpower these days?
No.
Yeah.
No. I'm guessing what's happened with Iron Duke? Is he?
I'm not seeing any messages from him. Probably.
Oh, well, I'll take over. Then there'll be some changes around here.
Yeah. I mean, like the purchasing. The PPP purchasing parity power. China is number one now by quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that I always feel is a bit more relative, because that's, well, what can you actually buy as an average person? Because if our GDP goes up 10%, does anything change?
The buying power of the pound sort of thing. So what does a pound actually get you these days? And that's an important question, because it's sort of like, I don't care about the GDP. How much is bread these days?
Yeah,
and it's a terrible measurement to determine growth, because by that logic, the more that we import, right, all these like the Boris wave and all the other millions and tens of millions that and the constant flow of people and capital, but mainly people, by that logic, we should be able to have you would be a significant growth. Do you know what it is? So
it's 0.01.
Yeah,
I know. It's so pathetic, isn't it? You'd think we're millions of people, right? Just do something. Just do anything. You useless you retards. But no.
A good way to think of inflation is not to get hung up on a value of it, because if bread cost £100, it doesn't matter. It's how long have I had to have worked to afford that piece of bread.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way you got to think of it. Like if bread's £100, if like, well, I've worked 2 minutes to earn that piece of bread, it doesn't matter if it's £100, does it?
No. Yeah.
Whereas if the bread costs 20 pence and you've had to work 5 hours to earn that piece of bread, the value doesn't matter. You got to think of it like your time in labour. Really, that's the best way to think of it, rather than actual value. it doesn't matter if that piece of bread costs £1 million or
Yeah.
you know, 1,000,000 pence. How long have you had to work to earn that
Yeah.
piece of bread?
Especially since fiat currency is all fake anyway these
Yeah.
days.
Because we're turning to bread tube here. We're talking about the price of bread.
Well, this is like
Republic credits. Republic credits means nothing.
Again, it doesn't matter if it's pounds, dollars, rupees, Republic credits. I think we should think about the standard of how much labour, how long do you have to labour to afford that thing?
Yeah, I mean, this is like some of the communist critiques of stuff. They're not entirely wrong. Some of the problems.
The Marxists, Marx, he said that ultimately the end stage of capitalism would be the importer of the worker. They destroy the working class by just because they end up importing them. Now that's true. That's just what has happened. But I mean, of course, you know, you then have on the reverse side, they have the universal workers unite, right? You know, so there is no sort of concept of a nation or state because all the workers, like, yeah, the workers are one block. But there is something to be said though, in that you know, it's a critique of the elite as well, because you don't have an elite who, like in, you know, either feudal or captains of industry, where you have like this industrial feudal social relationship with the local factory worker and the people, say on a, you know, like a street in Birmingham or Manchester, who they would, you know, all work in the factory, and you'd have the local factory owner who'd be from the, you know, the sort of like gentry class, who wouldn't be noble but be maybe like a sir, a knight of the realm, someone like in my family who were, you know, ceramics, yeah, owned ceramic factories, and you know, he wasn't from noble birth, but was from you know, that emergent educated class that came through in the Victorian period.
The important question is, now if public come out as bread tube, does that mean the institutions are now for us?
Well,
not if you're white Anglo-Celtic.
Nvidia have replaced bread with data centers. So
yeah,
I mean, but this is actually that's the whole, like, whenever you hear like a commie today, I was in like I went to Bristol the other day, and there was like some, you know, like the Communist Party of Britain. You see these clowns everywhere now, and they were talking about, like, you know, we're going to redistribute to the workers, and, you know, the bread of the workers and all that. And I'm just thinking, like, I want to go up to them and say, like, you fucking idiots, what do you mean? There is no like factories or redistribution or collectivization. We're going to collectivize fucking data centers and
yeah,
CP
unions.
unions.
You too can work in an Indian call center. Yeah.
Well, the Indians are going to be replaced by the AI as well. Not
yeah,
even they are saved from the data center.
Yeah, no, all of those people are going to be replaced by the AI for sure. Guys, look, I'm sorry. I was having problems with my microphone, which is why I haven't been around for the last 5 minutes. But yeah, we've been going almost 3 hours. I would just say this, like, when you look at people and you try and decide, are they all right or not, you got to look at, do they support the real British people? And the real British people are all white and they're Anglo-Celtic. And if they're not white and Anglo-Celtic, they're not supporting the real British people. And that's all you should look at. And before you call me an awful racist, go try tell the Zulus in South Africa that the Zulus are not real people, you know, compared to the Xhosa and all these other groups. And you could do the same thing all around the world. Why are the real Anglo-Celtic British people not as much a people as any other group in the world, including, for example, the Jewish guys in Israel? Why are British people less than them?
I would say recently I've been seeing more more of a we've been reclaiming the British identity a bit more. Probably
Yeah.
like this Sivnat
Yep.
definition of
Yep.
where,
Yep.
well, British is just, anyone can be with that. Okay, we'll let you have English, but people are going, no, British is just English, Scottish,
Well,
Welsh,
it
and
makes
Irish.
sense, and this is my thing. Like, when Rupert Lowe said, he despises ethno-nationalism and stuff, and I'd be like, okay, but the thing though is, Rupert, and this is my thing. I say to him, like, what is your genuine view on, like, say, the state of Israel or Japan or something? Because those, well, not so much Japan, but the state of Israel, where it is explicitly like an ethno state. What's your position on that? And if he said, yeah, I don't like that, I'd say, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, radical individualist. Fair enough. I
Won't
get it.
support you anymore. That's what I'd say.
Because I would say, like, I'd even ask him, like, why is it a bad thing? Like, why would that be a bad thing? Like, what social problems would it create?
Hang on, AI. End of the line in the chat says the European race. There isn't a European race. I'm sorry. There is a British race. There's definitely a Germanic race, a French race. There's even a Mediterranean race, but there isn't a European race. That's an Americanism.
Yeah.
It just is. Like, I am an Anglo-Catholic guy. Like, if you're British, if you're English, Scottish, Welsh, Northern Irish, or generally those people in your ancestry, then yeah, I'm your guy for sure. We're brothers.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to head off now, Duke. But so thank you for having me on.
Always most welcome, AI.
I am.
You always have an interesting position, even if you're always on the edge of getting my channel banned. But you do always have an interesting position.
Now, on tomorrow's stream, why the mid-century German was right to, and joking. Joking.
Let me tell you something, guys. Right, this horrible guy AI. Right, he's an evil neo-Nazi and all the rest of it. He recently saved an old guy from drowning in his car that was in a flood. Right, he risked his own life to go save him. AI is not a bad guy; he's a nice guy, but he can't help coming across.
I just played the. I just played the villain. I just played the. Yeah.
What race was the person you saved?
Oh, I hope he was a
Portuguese.
White guy. Yeah, he's he's probably Portuguese because AI detests the Portuguese.
Because if you save a white person, that's racist.
So I don't know why we get into trouble. I am but a humble.
No, I don't know either, Mercian, but I'm on YouTube. I know what YouTube is like, and I know AI is actually a really nice bloke, but probably YouTube wouldn't, if you know what I mean.
No. I try to be as confrontational and as possible.
I don't think that's true, AI, but all right.
I do.
No, I have a persona. My other self and my AI self is two. It's like a split personality. I'm like a schizophrenic in many ways. But anyway.
But AI really did, and this is not a joke, right? And we talked about it on the stream. AI recently saved an old dude from his car, which had gone on its side and was in a flood, and he was going to drown. And when the fire brigade turned up and the ambulance guys, they turned around and said to AI, "You shouldn't have done that. You risked your life." Whereas to me, that's what British guys always do, because we don't wait around for the emergency services. We go save people because we're British, and that's what we do.
Yeah. No, I've got a bit chastised by them lot. And
again, that's an example of the feminization of everything.
Yes, Mercian, it is. It is. You're not supposed to be a man. You're
Just
supposed to stand there like a useless woman until the poor old
Just-
bastard dies.
just
Do
let
you know-
just let the government handle it, okay? The
Yeah,
government will
yeah,
handle
yeah.
do you
everything
know
for you.
what's strange is I don't have I have adrenaline rush on those sorts of things, but when it happens, I don't have like an awareness of like risk when it comes to myself. In that
100,
moment, I didn't have a risk of
100.
or even
Yeah.
thought of death or anything like that. And I've had access because I've seen death. I've seen death plenty of times. And it doesn't bother me now like it used to. It's still there, and it's not something to be scoffed at, or I know, and it never should be. But I'm more
Calculated risk, AI. It's a calculated risk.
yeah, I think that's better. I'm sort of wiser, more calculated with that sort of stuff, and appreciative of what sort of comes and everything. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. If I thought for whatever reason that if I went in there, I was going to make it worse, the situation worse, something, I would have figured out a different way. I would have thought up of something else or something like that. But I saw a window of opportunity and I took it. And sometimes you just have to do that. So fortune, Lady Fortune, always favors the brave.
Yes, absolutely, which is why she's always favoured the British, because there are no braver people than the British. And just to let you know, guys, like what we're talking about is AI saved a old age pensioner dude from drowning, basically, because he's a good guy. So there you go.
So on tomorrow, I am streaming with Apostolic Majesty on my channel.
Oh, that'll be good, AI. I'll look forward to that.
Yeah, it's on the Northern Crusades with the Teutonic Knights and the Livonian Order, though mainly the Teutonic Knights against the Prussians and I guess Lithuanians, and also the Novgorodians, the Russians of Novgorod.
That
To a
should
lesser
be a
extent.
good stream. With AI and Apostolic Majesty, I would definitely recommend that stream, guys.
Yeah, and I've done quite an extent. There's not much written, particularly English, written for the Northern Crusades. A lot of German stuff. There's a lot of, and I hate to say it, unfortunately, because the Teutonic Knights are German warrior, martial people, who founded the modern Prussian state. Ever since the end of the Second World War, they are just treated as pre-Nazis effectively, and so anything written about them is largely exaggerated and just total
Yeah,
libel.
it's fucking ridiculous, given that like the Nazis date to 1932, maybe, or maybe the late 1920s, I guess, if you looked at the beer hall push. But there was nothing before that that had anything to do with the Nazis, to be honest. But yeah, go and check out AI's stream. And if he's got Apostolic Majesty on, it's going to be a very good history stream. Tharian, Mercian, anything you wanted to plug, guys?
Nothing in particular at the moment.
Yeah.
All right. I will just say then, hopefully we'll be back on Wednesday with a history stream. Partly it depends if someone gives me a good subject, but we'll see. But in the meantime, guys, don't let the bastards grind you down. They try constantly with every mainstream news broadcast, every mainstream newspaper, every mainstream advertisement. They're all trying to just grind you down. Don't let them. You go with the history of your people. And if you're British, Like, there is no people in the entire world that even comes close to how brilliant and wonderful and brave and fair and good the British were. Yeah, you know, that no one comes even close. Anyway, take care, guys. We'll talk to you soon. And thank you to my guests, AI, Mercian, Farium, and yeah, go on.